The moment I saw my fiancé's lips on my sister's, I made a decision that would destroy everything I'd built and create something far more dangerous. Olivia Brooks had 30 seconds to choose: walk away with her dignity intact, or burn her entire life to the ground in front of 200 of the wine industry's most powerful people. She chose fire. What she didn't know was that the mysterious stranger in the shadows, the one who would help her orchestrate the most scandalous revenge the Metropolitan Gala had ever witnessed, was the last man on earth she should have trusted. If you want to see how one kiss can unravel an empire, stay until the end. Drop a like and comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. The crystal chandeliers of the grand ballroom cast prismatic light across 500 bottles of wine, each positioned with the precision of chess pieces. Olivia Brooks moved through the crowd like a conductor orchestrating a symphony, her emerald dress catching the light as she gestured toward a 1947 Chateau d'Yquem. "The honeyed notes are unmistakable," she explained to a circle of enraptured collectors, her voice carrying the perfect balance of expertise and warmth. "But notice the finish. That's where the magic lives. 60 seconds of pure, unadulterated complexity." A murmur of appreciation rippled through her audience. At 28, Olivia had become one of the youngest master sommeliers in the country, and tonight's Metropolitan Gala was her masterpiece. Every placement, every pairing, every vintage told a story she'd carefully crafted over 6 months of meticulous planning. Her phone buzzed against her hip. Nathan's name flashed across the screen. "Running late. Traffic nightmare." "You're killing it, babe." She smiled despite the flutter of irritation in her chest. Nathan was always running late, always caught in traffic, always somewhere else when she needed him. But tonight was supposed to be different. Tonight was supposed to be their night. The night where his family's investment firm would finally see her as more than just the sommelier he was dating. The night where their engagement would feel real, substantial, permanent. "Miss Brooks?" A server appeared at her elbow, his young face creased with concern. "We have a situation with the Bordeaux display. The temperature readings are fluctuating." Olivia's smile never wavered, though her heart dropped. "Show me." She followed him through the glittering crowd, past women draped in diamonds and men whose watches cost more than her annual salary. The Bordeaux display occupied pride of place near the main entrance, a temperature-controlled showcase featuring bottles that collectively represented over $2 million in liquid assets. If something went wrong. "There," the server pointed to the digital readout. "It spiked to 68 degrees 10 minutes ago." Damn it! Olivia's mind raced through solutions. 68 degrees wouldn't ruin the wine, not in 10 minutes, but it was enough to raise questions, enough to make people doubt her competence. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through her contacts for the climate control company. "Already handled it, actually." The voice came from behind her, deep, textured, with an accent she couldn't quite place. "European, but which country?" She turned and found herself looking up at a man who seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. He was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a black suit that probably cost more than her car. But it wasn't his clothes that made her pause. It was his face. Sharp cheekbones, dark eyes that held secrets, and a mouth that curved into something too knowing to be called a smile. "Excuse me?" Olivia kept her voice professional, though something about him made her want to step backward. Or forward. She couldn't decide which impulse was more dangerous. "The temperature control." He gestured toward the display with a hand that bore a single platinum ring. "One of the guests bumped the panel. I corrected it." Olivia glanced at the readout. 55 degrees. Perfect. "Thank you, Mr. Castellano. Alec Castellano." He extended his hand. She took it automatically, registering the calluses on his palm, unusual for someone at this kind of event. His grip was firm, warm, and lasted exactly 1 second longer than appropriate. "You're the sommelier everyone's been raving about," he continued, releasing her hand, "the one who paired the screaming eagle with the lamb. You know wine." It wasn't a question. "I know what I like." His eyes held hers with an intensity that made her pulse quicken. "And I know value when I see it." Before she could respond, a burst of laughter erupted from somewhere near the back of the ballroom. High, bright, feminine laughter that she would have recognized anywhere. Jessica. Her sister wasn't supposed to be here. Jessica lived in Boston, worked in marketing, and had never shown any interest in wine or Olivia's career. They spoke maybe twice a year, their relationship cordial, but distant ever since their father's death had split the family vineyard between them, 70% to Olivia, 30% to Jessica. "If you'll excuse me," Olivia said to Alec, already moving toward the sound. She pushed through clusters of guests, her professional smile frozen in place until she reached the wine display at the back of the room. The display she'd personally designed to showcase rare Italian vintages. The display that was currently blocked by her sister's body. Jessica wore red. Of course she wore red. A crimson dress that hugged curves Olivia had never possessed, cut low enough to make their grandmother roll in her grave. Her blonde hair fell in perfect waves down her back, and her laugh rang out again as she leaned against the display, tilting her head back to look up at Nathan. Olivia's fiancé stood close enough to Jessica that his shoulder nearly touched hers. Too close. The kind of close that erased professional boundaries and whispered of intimacy. He said something Olivia couldn't hear, and Jessica laughed again, her hand landing on his chest. The rational part of Olivia's brain cataloged details. The time, 9:47 p.m., the location, northeastern corner of the ballroom, the witnesses, at least 40 people within viewing distance. The irrational part, the part currently screaming, noticed other things. The way Nathan's hand rested on the small of Jessica's back, the way her sister's fingers lingered on his lapel, the way they looked at each other like they shared a secret, or like they'd shared more than that. Olivia took a step forward, then stopped. Years of professional training warred with the urge to scream. She was at the Metropolitan Gala. Her reputation was on the line. She couldn't make a scene. Nathan leaned down, whispering something in Jessica's ear. Jessica's eyes fluttered closed. Olivia's feet moved before her brain gave permission. She crossed the remaining distance in 4 strides, her heels clicking against the marble floor like gunshots. "Jessica." Her voice came out steady. "Good. I didn't know you were coming." Her sister's eyes snapped open, and for just a moment, less than a second, guilt flashed across her face. Then it was gone, replaced by that bright, empty smile she'd perfected years ago. "Livy, oh my God, I wanted to surprise you." Jessica pulled away from Nathan and threw her arms around Olivia. She smelled like Chanel No. 5 and lies. "You look amazing. This whole thing is amazing. Nathan's been telling me all about your hard work." "Has he?" Olivia extracted herself from the embrace and looked at her fiancé. Nathan had the grace to look uncomfortable. His hand had fallen away from Jessica's back, and he tugged at his collar, a nervous habit she'd learned to recognize over 3 years together. "Jess called yesterday, said she was in town for work. I told her she should come see what you've accomplished." "How thoughtful." Olivia's smile could have cut glass. "I hope you don't mind," Jessica continued, oblivious or uncaring. "I know it's your big night, but Nathan was so insistent. He said you'd be thrilled to have family here." Family? The word tasted like acid. Jessica had never been interested in family, not since their father's will had favored Olivia's dedication to the vineyard over Jessica's indifference. Not since Olivia had refused to sell her share when Jessica wanted to cash out. "Of course I don't mind." Olivia's professional mask was back in place. "Though I should get back to my guests. Nathan, there's a collector from Singapore who wants to discuss our wedding wines. Could you—" "Actually," Nathan interrupted, his eyes sliding away from hers, "I need to talk to you. Later, after the gala. There's something—" "Miss Brooks?" A server materialized at her elbow. "Mr. Whitmore is asking about the Chateau Margaux you recommended." Saved by obligation. Olivia touched Nathan's arm briefly, a gesture that felt like play acting. "We'll talk later. Jessica, help yourself to anything. The Barolo is exceptional." She walked away before either of them could respond, her heart hammering so hard she was certain everyone could hear it. Mr. Whitmore didn't exist. She'd invented him to escape, and now she was adrift in her own event, drowning in a sea of people who wanted her expertise while her entire life unraveled in the corner. She grabbed a glass of champagne from a passing tray and drained half of it. The bubbles burned her throat. Not enough. She drained the rest and took another glass. "Careful." That voice again. Dark honey and gravel. Alec Castellano appeared beside her like a shadow given form. "Champagne has a way of making people do things they regret." "Maybe I want to do something I'll regret." The words came out sharper than she intended. His eyebrow lifted. Do you? Olivia looked at him, really looked. He was watching her with the focus of a predator, but there was something else there too. Understanding, maybe, or recognition, like he'd seen this particular disaster play out before and knew exactly how it would end. Who are you? She asked. Really? I know everyone on the guest list, and your name isn't on it. I'm a collector. Of wine? Among other things. His smile was knife-edge sharp. I also invest in businesses. Vineyards, specifically. Struggling ones that need intervention. The champagne made her bold. Are you threatening me, Mr. Castellano? Threatening? He looked genuinely amused. No, I'm stating facts. Your family's vineyard has been operating in the red for 3 years. Your sister wants to sell. You're fighting to keep it alive while planning a wedding you can't afford and maintaining a relationship with a man who's currently touching her like she belongs to him. The air left Olivia's lungs. She set down her champagne glass before she could throw it at him. You need to leave. I will, after I give you my card. He pulled a black business card from his pocket and pressed it into her hand. His fingers were warm against hers. When you're ready to talk about saving what matters, call me. I don't need... A crash cut through the ambient noise of the gala. Glass shattering. Someone screamed. Olivia spun toward the sound and saw chaos erupting near the Italian wine display. The same display where she'd left Nathan and Jessica. Her feet were moving before her brain caught up, pushing through the crowd that had formed a circle around whatever had happened. She broke through the front line and stopped dead. Nathan and Jessica stood in the center of a debris field of shattered glass and spilled wine. A 1961 Barolo, one of the most expensive bottles in the entire collection, lay destroyed at their feet, its contents bleeding across the white marble like an accusation. But that wasn't what made Olivia's world tilt sideways. It was the way Nathan's hands cupped Jessica's face, the way Jessica's fingers twisted in his hair, the way their lips were locked together like they were the only two people in the room, the way they were kissing, not a friendly peck, not a drunken mistake, a real kiss, the kind of kiss that told a story of practice and familiarity, the kind of kiss that said this isn't the first time. Sound rushed back in, gasps, whispers, the clicking of phone cameras. Olivia stood frozen, aware of every eye in the room turning from the spectacle to her, waiting, watching to see what the jilted fiancé would do. Nathan pulled away first. His eyes met Olivia's across 6 feet of destruction, and she saw everything she needed to know. Guilt, shame, but not surprise. He'd known this would happen eventually. He'd probably been waiting for it. Liv, he started. Don't. The word came out steady, deadly. Don't say my name. Jessica had the decency to look down, her face flushed, but she didn't move away from Nathan, didn't try to excuse it. She just stood there, his arms still around her waist, and said nothing. The silence stretched, 200 people holding their breath, waiting for Olivia to break. She wouldn't give them the satisfaction. She turned on her heel and walked toward the exit. Not running, not fleeing, walking with her head high and her spine straight, even as the whispers erupted behind her like wildfire. She made it to the marble corridor outside the ballroom before her legs gave out. She stumbled, catching herself against the wall, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps that wouldn't fill her lungs. 3 years. 3 years of her life poured into a relationship that was apparently a lie. How long had it been going on? Weeks? Months? Years? Had Jessica been sleeping with Nathan the whole time they'd been engaged? The questions circled like vultures, each one picking at her composure until there was nothing left but rage. Here, Alec Castellano stood in front of her, holding out a glass of champagne. Where had he come from? Had he followed her? I don't want... Yes, you do. He pressed the glass into her hand. Drink, then decide. Decide what? Her voice cracked. What you're going to do about them. Olivia looked down at the champagne, watching the bubbles rise and pop. Such a simple thing. Such a temporary relief. She drank it anyway, letting the alcohol burn away the tears that threatened to fall. I should go back in there, she said. Fix this. Apologize to the guests. Why? Alec's voice was genuinely curious. They're not the ones who betrayed you? Because it's my job, because I'm a professional, because you're terrified that if you stop performing, even for a second, everything will fall apart. He stepped closer, and she caught his scent, sandalwood and something darker. But it's already fallen apart, Olivia. The only question now is what you build from the rubble. She laughed, but it came out broken. And what do you suggest I build? My fiancé just... Her voice failed. I suggest, Alex said quietly, that you go back in there and remind him exactly what he's losing. How? His smile was dangerous. Make him jealous. Make him regret. Make him burn the way you're burning right now. That's childish. That's human. He held out his hand. 5 minutes. Give me 5 minutes, and I guarantee Nathan will remember why he asked you to marry him in the first place. Olivia stared at his outstretched hand. Every rational instinct screamed at her to refuse. To go home, delete Nathan's number, and rebuild her life like an adult. But the champagne was singing in her veins, and the image of Nathan kissing Jessica was burned into her retinas, and she was so tired of being rational, so tired of being the good girl who did everything right and still ended up broken. She took Alex's hand. His fingers closed around hers, warm and sure, and he pulled her close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. What exactly did you have in mind? She asked. Trust me. I don't know you. Exactly. His other hand came up to cup her jaw, tilting her face toward his. Which makes this perfect. Nathan knows everyone in your life, every friend, every colleague, every safe choice you've ever made, but me? His thumb brushed across her lower lip. I'm the opposite of safe. Who are you really? The question came out breathless. Someone who understands revenge. His eyes searched hers. Someone who knows that sometimes the best way to win is to burn the whole game down. But I need your permission, Olivia. I need you to say yes. She should have asked more questions, should have demanded answers, should have walked away from the stranger with secrets in his eyes and danger in his smile. Instead, she whispered, yes. Alex's smile was triumphant. Then let's give them a show they'll never forget. He led her back into the ballroom, and Olivia felt every eye track their movement. The whispers intensified. Who was the man with Olivia Brooks? Where had he come from? What was happening? Nathan stood exactly where she'd left him, Jessica still at his side. His eyes widened when he saw Olivia, saw Alex's hand in hers, saw the way she moved with purpose instead of pain. Liv, wait! Nathan started toward them. Alex stopped in the center of the ballroom, directly under the largest chandelier, where everyone could see them, where there was no hiding, no pretending, no escape. He turned to face Olivia, his hands coming up to frame her face. Last chance to back out, he murmured, quiet enough that only she could hear. Olivia looked over his shoulder and met Nathan's eyes, saw the confusion there, the beginning of understanding, the first flicker of jealousy. Good. She rose up on her toes and grabbed the lapels of Alex's jacket. Kiss me, she said. His eyes darkened. Are you sure? Kiss me like you mean it. Kiss me like we're the only two people in the world. Kiss me until everyone in this room forgets Nathan exists. Something shifted in Alex's expression. Surprise, maybe, or respect. His hand slid from her face to her waist, pulling her against him until there was no space between their bodies. As you wish, he whispered, and then he kissed her. It wasn't gentle, it wasn't tentative. It was the kind of kiss that claimed ownership, that rewrote narratives, that announced to everyone watching that Olivia Brooks was not a victim. She was a woman taking exactly what she wanted. Alex's mouth moved against hers with practiced skill, his tongue sliding past her lips in a way that made her knees weak. One of his hands tangled in her hair, the other splayed across the small of her back, holding her steady as he thoroughly, deliberately destroyed any remaining illusion that this was just for show. Olivia kissed him back with all the rage and heartbreak and champagne-soaked courage she possessed. She poured 3 years of disappointment into that kiss, let it fuel the way her nails dug into his shoulders, the way she pressed against him like she was trying to crawl inside his skin. Somewhere in the distance she heard gasps, whispers, the distinctive sound of champagne glasses being set down with more force than necessary. She heard Nathan's voice. What the hell? Sharp with anger and disbelief. She heard Jessica's intake of breath. She heard all of it and kissed Alec harder. When he finally pulled back, the ballroom had gone silent. 200 people stared at them with varying expressions of shock, delight, and scandal. Alec's thumb brushed across Olivia's swollen lower lip. His breathing was unsteady, and there was something in his eyes she couldn't quite name, something that looked almost like surprise. "Well," he said quietly, "that should do it." Olivia became aware of her surroundings in fragments, the weight of Alec's hands on her body, the heat in her cheeks, the way her heart was trying to hammer through her ribs, the absolute deafening silence. She turned slowly and found Nathan standing 10 feet away, his face a mask of fury and betrayal. Jessica clutched his arm, her eyes wide. "How could you?" Nathan's voice shook. "In front of everyone? At your own event?" The hypocrisy was so staggering that Olivia almost laughed. Almost. "How could I?" she repeated. "You're seriously asking me that? This is different. You don't even know him." Nathan gestured wildly at Alec. "Who the hell is this guy?" "Does it matter?" Olivia was surprised by how calm she sounded. "You clearly didn't think it mattered when you were kissing my sister." "That was a mistake, a moment of weakness. We've been trying to figure out how to tell you." "Tell me what?" Ice flooded her veins. "That you've been sleeping with Jessica behind my back? That our engagement is a joke? That everything we've built together is a lie?" Nathan's silence was answer enough. Jessica finally found her voice. "Livy, please, we didn't mean for it to happen. We tried to fight it, but how long?" Olivia cut her off. "How long have you been trying to fight it?" More silence. "How long?" 8 months, Nathan said quietly. 8 months. 8 months of lies. 8 months of coming home to Nathan's kisses, knowing he'd been kissing Jessica. 8 months of planning a wedding to a man who was already committed to someone else. 8 months. The number was so absurd that Olivia did laugh then, a sharp, broken sound that made several guests step backward. 8 months, she repeated. "Well, I guess I should thank you for finally having the courage to get caught." She pulled the engagement ring from her finger, the emerald-cut diamond Nathan had proposed with on the vineyard's terrace, surrounded by stars and promises, and threw it at his feet. It bounced twice before rolling under a display table. "We're done," she said. "You and me." "The engagement, all of it, done." Nathan's face crumpled. "Liv, please, let's talk about this. In private, not here." "Why not here?" Olivia's voice rose. "You didn't have a problem making a spectacle of yourself with my sister in front of 200 people. Why should I be discreet?" "Because you're better than this," Nathan shouted. "Better than him!" He pointed at Alec. "Do you even know who that is? Do you know what he does?" Olivia turned to look at Alec, who stood calmly beside her, his expression unreadable. "Enlighten me," she said. Nathan's laugh was bitter. "That's Alec Castellano. The Alec Castellano. He's a criminal, Liv. He runs half the underground wine market in the country. Stolen vintages, forged authentication certificates, money laundering through vineyard acquisitions. The FBI has been trying to nail him for years." The words should have made her recoil, should have made her step away from Alec like he was radioactive. Instead, Olivia looked at the man who'd just kissed her in front of everyone she knew and felt nothing but curiosity. "Is that true?" she asked him. Alec's smile was slow and dangerous. "Some of it." "Which parts?" "The parts that matter to you. Those are true." He turned to address the room, his voice carrying effortlessly. "I do acquire vineyards. I do deal in rare wines. Whether my methods are legal depends largely on who you ask and which laws they think apply." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. "See?" Nathan grabbed Olivia's arm. "He's dangerous. He's using you to get to your family's vineyard. That's what he does. He finds struggling businesses and takes them over. You can't trust him." Olivia looked down at Nathan's hand on her arm, then back up at his face. "And I can trust you? The man who's been sleeping with my sister for 8 months? Nathan's grip loosened. "That's not... We didn't... Let go of me. Liv, I said let go. Nathan released her arm like she'd burned him. Olivia turned back to Alec. You want my vineyard? It wasn't a question. I want a lot of things, Alec replied. Your vineyard is on the list. And you thought kissing me would help you get it? I thought, Alec said carefully, that you wanted revenge. The vineyard is a separate discussion, one we can have when you're sober and thinking clearly. I'm thinking very clearly. Olivia took a step closer to him. You're a criminal who wants to take over my family's legacy. Nathan is a cheater who wants to marry my sister. Between the two of you, at least you're honest about your intentions. Alec's eyebrow lifted. Is that a compliment? It's a fact. Olivia held out her hand. Your business card, the one you gave me earlier. Do you still have another? He produced it from his pocket without hesitation. Olivia took it and turned to face the crowd. Every phone was out now, recording, documenting, preparing to spread the scandal across every social media platform before the night was over. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, she announced, her voice carrying across the silent ballroom. Thank you for coming to the Metropolitan Gala. I apologize for the disruption. As you can see, I've had some personal developments tonight, but I want you to know that this event, this beautiful celebration of wine and art and passion, will continue. The auction will proceed as planned. The donations to the Culinary Scholarship Fund will change lives, and I will be here, doing my job, because that's what professionals do. She paused, letting her words settle. However, I will be doing my job as a single woman. My engagement to Nathan Prescott is over, effective immediately. I wish him and my sister, her voice only wavered slightly, all the happiness they clearly found with each other. The whispers started again, but Olivia wasn't finished. I'd also like to introduce you to Alec Castellano, who some of you may know by reputation. Mr. Castellano has expressed interest in partnering with Brooks Family Vineyard. We'll be exploring that partnership in the coming weeks. I suggest you all stay tuned. It's going to be a very interesting collaboration. She turned to Alec. Shall we? His smile was genuine this time, reaching his eyes. After you. They walked out of the ballroom together, leaving chaos and speculation in their wake. Olivia didn't look back at Nathan or Jessica, didn't acknowledge the cameras or the gasps or the way her world had just imploded in the most public way possible. She walked with her head high and her hand in Alec Castellanos, and she didn't let herself think about what she'd just done until they were alone in the marble corridor, the ballroom doors closed behind them. Then her knees buckled. Alec caught her before she could fall, his arms strong and steady around her waist. I've got you, he murmured. Olivia looked up at him, this stranger, this criminal, this dangerous man who'd somehow become her unlikely ally in the span of 30 minutes, and felt tears finally spill down her cheeks. I just destroyed my career, she whispered. No. Alec's hand came up to wipe away her tears with surprising gentleness. You just saved it. They'll never forget tonight, Olivia. But not because you were the jilted fiancé, because you were the woman who fought back. By kissing a criminal? By taking control of your own story. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Nathan wanted you to be the victim. You refused. That's not destruction, that's power. Olivia wanted to believe him, wanted to think that she'd done something brave instead of catastrophically stupid, but all she could feel was the weight of what had just happened crushing down on her shoulders. I need to go home, she said. I'll take you. No. She pulled away from him, instantly missing the warmth of his arms. I need to be alone. I need to think. At least let me get you a car. I said no. The words came out sharper than she intended. You've done enough, Mr. Castellano. Thank you for the performance. But I can handle things from here. Something flickered across his face, disappointment, maybe, or concern. But he stepped back and nodded. Keep the card, he said. When you're ready to talk about the vineyard, about saving it instead of watching it die, call me. Why do you care? Olivia asked. If you're just going to take it over anyway, why offer to help? Alec was quiet for a moment, studying her face like he was trying to memorize it. Because, he finally said, I recognize a fighter when I see one. And fighters shouldn't have to lose everything just because they trusted the wrong person. Before she could respond, he turned and walked away, disappearing around a corner without looking back. Olivia stood alone in the corridor, her lips still swollen from his kiss. her heart still racing from adrenaline and champagne and shock. From inside the ballroom, she could hear the auction beginning. Her auction, the one she'd spent months planning, now proceeding without her. She should go back in there, should finish what she started, should prove to everyone that she was fine, that she could handle this, that nothing could break her. But she couldn't. Not tonight. She walked out of the hotel into the cool October air and pulled out her phone. Her hands shook as she ordered a car. 3 notifications waited on her screen, all from Nathan. She deleted them without reading them. The car arrived within minutes. Olivia slid into the back seat and gave the driver her address in a voice that sounded nothing like her own. As they pulled away from the hotel, her phone exploded with texts, calls, social media notifications. The videos had already started circulating. She could see the hashtags forming. Hashtag Metropolitan Gala Scandal, hashtag Sommelier. Revenge, hashtag Castellano Kiss. She turned off her phone and watched the city lights blur past the window, each one a little piece of the life she'd known disappearing into the darkness. When she finally arrived at her apartment, the one she'd shared with Nathan, filled with his things and their memories, she stood in the doorway and felt absolutely nothing. No, that wasn't true. She felt empty, hollow, like someone had scooped out her insides and left only a shell. But underneath the emptiness, buried deep beneath the shock and pain and humiliation, something else stirred. Anger. Not the hot, explosive kind. The cold, calculating kind. The kind that planned and plotted and waited for the perfect moment to strike. Nathan and Jessica had betrayed her, had lied to her for 8 months, had destroyed her trust, her engagement, her family. They would pay for that. Olivia walked to her wine rack and pulled out a bottle she'd been saving for her wedding, a 1990s Chateau Latour that had cost more than her first car. She opened it without ceremony, poured a glass, and sat in the dark apartment while the city hummed outside her window. On the coffee table, Alec Castellanos' business card gleamed in the moonlight. Black cardstock, silver lettering, a phone number, and nothing else. She picked it up, running her thumb over the raised text. Alec was a criminal, a dangerous man with dangerous connections. Getting involved with him would complicate everything, would drag her into a world she didn't understand and couldn't control. But he'd also been right about one thing. Nathan had wanted her to be the victim. She refused. Olivia raised her glass to the empty apartment, to the life that had just ended, to the future she could barely imagine. To new beginnings, she whispered. Then she drank deeply and began planning her revenge. The morning after arrived with all the subtlety of a freight train. Olivia woke to sunlight stabbing through curtains she'd forgotten to close and a headache that felt like divine punishment. The empty wine bottle on her nightstand reminded her exactly why her skull was splitting in half. She reached for her phone, then remembered she'd turned it off. Smart move, passed Olivia. Present Olivia wasn't ready to face whatever carnage awaited in her notifications. The apartment was too quiet. Nathan usually had NPR playing by now, the smell of coffee drifting from the kitchen, his off-key humming as he got ready for work. The absence of those sounds felt like a physical presence, filling every corner with uncomfortable silence. Olivia forced herself out of bed and into the shower, letting scalding water wash away the remnants of champagne and catastrophic decisions. When she emerged 20 minutes later, wrapped in a towel with her hair dripping down her back, she finally turned on her phone. It exploded. 347 notifications, text messages, missed calls, emails, social media tags. The numbers kept climbing as she watched, each ping another reminder that her private disaster was now very public entertainment. She scrolled through the messages with morbid fascination. Her mother had called 16 times. Her best friend Sarah had sent a novel's worth of texts ranging from "What the hell happened" to "I'm coming over with wine and terrible ideas." Her professional contacts were more circumspect, their messages carefully neutral as they asked if she was all right and if she needed anything. But it was the social media that made her stomach drop. Someone had recorded the entire scene. Multiple someones, actually. There were at least 10 different angles of Nathan kissing Jessica, then Olivia kissing Alec, then her speech to the assembled guests. The videos had millions of views collectively. The comments ranged from supportive to vicious, with most landing somewhere in the gleeful middle ground of schadenfreude. Brooks' family sommelier's engagement explodes at charity gala, read one headline. Mystery man identified as alleged wine smuggler Alec Castellano, declared another. Love triangle turns metropolitan event into soap opera, crowed a third. Olivia set down her phone before she could throw it against the wall. A knock at the door made her jump. She grabbed a robe and checked the peephole, expecting Nathan or maybe Sarah. Instead, she found a delivery man holding an enormous bouquet of white roses. Olivia Brooks? He asked when she opened the door. Yes? These are for you. He handed over the arrangement, at least 3 dozen roses, their petals perfect and their stems arranged with professional precision. Have a great day. He left before she could ask who'd sent them. Olivia carried the bouquet inside and found the card tucked among the blooms. The handwriting was elegant, masculine, unfamiliar. For the fighter, call when you're ready to discuss strategy. AC. Alec Castellano had sent her flowers. Alec Castellano, the alleged criminal who'd kissed her in front of 200 people, who wanted to acquire her failing vineyard, who'd walked away last night with more composure than she'd ever possessed in her life. Olivia stared at the roses for a long moment, then made coffee strong enough to strip paint. She was halfway through her first cup when someone started pounding on her door. Livy, I know you're in there. Open up. Sarah. Of course. Olivia unlocked the door and Sarah burst in like a hurricane, her red hair wild and her arms full of grocery bags. I brought supplies, Sarah announced, dumping everything on the kitchen counter. Ice cream, wine, the good stuff from that place you like, cheese, chocolate, and she pulled out a bottle with a flourish. Tequila, for emergencies. It's 10 in the morning. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, and you kissed a crime lord at a charity gala, so I think we can suspend normal drinking hours. Sarah turned to face her, green eyes sharp with concern. How are you? I don't know yet. Olivia sank onto the couch. Ask me again when the shock wears off. Sarah sat beside her and pulled her into a fierce hug. I'm so sorry. Nathan's a bastard. Jessica's worse. They deserve each other. 8 months, Olivia said into Sarah's shoulder. They've been together for 8 months. I know, I saw the videos. Sarah pulled back, her jaw tight. If you want me to key his car, I will. I'll do it right now. I'll do both their cars. Despite everything, Olivia laughed. Tempting, but probably not the best idea. Fine. Then let's talk about the elephant in the room. Sarah stood and retrieved the wine, pouring 2 generous glasses despite the hour. Alec Castellano, what the hell, Liv? I don't know what happened. Olivia accepted the wine gratefully. 1 minute I was watching Nathan kiss my sister, the next I was asking a complete stranger to help me get revenge. Not a complete stranger. You knew his name. I knew his name because he told me, 5 minutes before I kissed him. Olivia took a long drink. He wants the vineyard. He said so directly. No games, no pretense. Just, I want your family's business, and I'm willing to help you save it. Sarah's eyebrows shot up. And you believe him? I don't know what I believe anymore. Olivia gestured at the roses. He sent those this morning, with a note about discussing strategy. Strategy for what? Stealing your vineyard or stealing your heart? Neither. Both. I have no idea. Olivia rubbed her temples. The vineyard's dying, Sarah. We both know it. Dad left it to Jessica and me, but she wants to sell. The only thing stopping her is that we need both signatures to make any major decisions. She's been pushing for a sale for 3 years. So sell it. Start over. You're talented enough to work anywhere. It's not that simple. That vineyard is, Olivia's voice caught. It's all I have left of him, of my father. He built that business from nothing. He trusted me to keep it alive. He also gave 30% to Jessica, who never gave a damn about wine. Sarah's voice was gentle but firm. Your father made mistakes, Liv. You don't have to pay for them forever. Before Olivia could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her thumb the accept button. Miss Brooks. Alec's voice was as dark and smooth as she remembered. I hope I'm not calling too early. Sarah's eyes went wide. She mouthed, Is that him? With exaggerated enthusiasm. Olivia turned away from her friend's theatrical interest. Mr. Castellano, thank you for the flowers. You're welcome. I thought white seemed appropriate, symbolic of new beginnings. Or surrender, His laugh was low and genuine. I prefer to think of it as strategic repositioning. How are you feeling? Like I kissed a stranger in front of everyone I know and then announced a business partnership that doesn't exist. It could exist. The playfulness left his voice. I meant what I said, Olivia. I can help you save the vineyard, but we need to talk. In person. Somewhere private. Every instinct told her to refuse, to hang up, block his number, pretend last night had been a champagne-induced hallucination. But the vineyard was still failing. Jessica was still pushing for a sale. And Nathan? Nathan was probably already planning his next move, whatever that might be. Where? She heard herself ask. There's a restaurant in Soho, Piccola Cucina. 1 o'clock. I'll have a table reserved. How do you know I'll come? Because you're curious, because you're angry, and because you're smart enough to know that emotion alone won't save what you love. He paused. Also because I suspect you're tired of playing by rules that other people keep breaking. He hung up before she could respond. Sarah pounced immediately. You're meeting him, aren't you? I'm considering it. Liv, he's allegedly a criminal. Allegedly being the key word. Olivia set down her wine. Nathan said the FBI has been investigating him for years. If they haven't arrested him, maybe there's nothing to arrest him for. Or maybe he's just really good at not getting caught. Either way, I need to know what he's offering. The vineyard lost another $50,000 last quarter. We can't sustain that. Sarah studied her for a long moment. This isn't just about the vineyard. What do you mean? I mean, you're not thinking clearly. You just found out your fiancé's been cheating on you with your sister. You're hurt and angry and looking for a distraction. Alec Castellano is not a distraction. He's a complication. Maybe I need a complication. Olivia stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city that suddenly felt too small. I've spent 3 years being the good girlfriend, the responsible business owner, the professional sommelier who always does the right thing. And where did it get me? It got you respect, a career, a reputation. It got me betrayed. Olivia turned back to face her friend. I'm tired, Sarah. Tired of being careful. Tired of playing it safe. Maybe it's time to try something different. Different is fine. Dangerous is another story. I'll be careful. No, you won't. But Sarah was smiling despite her concern, because if you were going to be careful, you wouldn't have kissed him last night. You would have walked away, gone home, cried into your wine like a normal person. I did cry into my wine, after the kissing. See? You're doing everything backward. Sarah grabbed her purse. Fine. Go meet your mysterious criminal. But I'm picking out your outfit, and you're keeping your location shared with me the entire time. If you're going to make spectacularly bad decisions, at least let me help you look good doing it. 3 hours later, Olivia stood outside Piccola Cucina wearing a black dress that Sarah had insisted made her look like revenge personified. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek bun, her makeup understated but flawless. She looked like she was going to a business meeting, which technically she was. She just wasn't sure what kind of business they'd be discussing. The restaurant was small, intimate, the kind of place that catered to people who valued privacy over publicity. A hostess led her to a corner table where Alex sat reading something on his phone, a glass of red wine untouched beside him. He looked up when she approached, and something shifted in his expression. Appreciation, maybe, or satisfaction at a prediction confirmed. You came. He stood, pulling out her chair with old-world courtesy. You sound surprised. Pleasantly validated. He waited until she was seated before returning to his own chair. I took the liberty of ordering a wine, the 2015 Barolo. I hope that's acceptable. Olivia glanced at the bottle. It was an excellent choice, complex and bold without being showy. It's perfect, actually. I did my research. Alec poured her a glass. You wrote an article about this vintage 3 years ago, called it deceptively powerful with an undertow of dark fruit and rebellion. You read my articles? I read everything about you. He said it without apology, like it was the most natural thing in the world to thoroughly investigate someone before sending them flowers. Your education, your career trajectory, your family history, the vineyard's financial records, your engagement announcement in the Times. Olivia should have been disturbed. Instead, she found herself intrigued. That's either very thorough or very creepy. I prefer to think of it as due diligence. Alex's smile was slight but genuine. I don't make offers blindly, Olivia. I needed to understand what I was working with. And what are you working with? A woman who loves wine more than she loves security, who's willing to fight for her father's legacy even when the smart move would be to walk away, who's brave enough to kiss a stranger in front of 200 people just to prove a point. He raised his glass. I'm working with someone extraordinary. Heat crept up Olivia's neck. She covered it by taking a drink, letting the wine's complexity ground her. Flattery won't make me trust you. Good. You shouldn't trust me. Not yet. Alex set down his glass. But you should listen to what I'm offering. Which is? A partnership. Real, legal, legitimate. I invest capital into Brooks Family Vineyard. You maintain creative control and public ownership. We split profits 60-40. 60 in whose favor? Yours. It's your family legacy. I'm just the money. Olivia laughed, but there was no humor in it. Nobody is just the money, Mr. Castellano, especially not someone with your reputation. My reputation? He leaned back, studying her. What exactly did Nathan tell you about me? That you run an underground wine operation, stolen vintages, forged certificates, money laundering. 2 out of 3. Alex's tone was conversational, like they were discussing the weather. I do deal in rare acquisitions that sometimes lack traditional provenance, and I've facilitated transactions that certain governments find objectionable. But money laundering? He shook his head. That's boring. I prefer more creative ventures. So you're admitting you're a criminal? I'm admitting I operate in gray areas that make conventional people uncomfortable. He poured himself more wine. But here's the thing about gray areas, Olivia. They're where the most interesting opportunities exist. Your vineyard is failing because you're playing by rules that benefit corporations with massive capital. I'm offering you a way to compete on a level playing field. By breaking the law? By bending it. There's a difference. Alec pulled out a folder from beside his chair and slid it across the table. This is my proposal. Real numbers, real investment, real terms. Take it home. Have a lawyer review it. I'm not trying to trap you. Olivia opened the folder despite herself. The numbers made her breath catch. Alec was offering to invest $2 million into the vineyard. $2 million. That kind of capital could modernize their production, expand their distribution, hire the staff they desperately needed. Why? The question came out raw. Why would you invest this much in a failing business? Because it's not failing due to incompetence. It's failing due to lack of resources. Alec's voice was matter-of-fact. You're talented, Olivia. Your palate is exceptional. Your understanding of terroir and vintage is sophisticated. You just don't have the money to compete with the big operations. I'm offering you that money. In exchange for what? 40% of the profits, access to your distribution network for some of my other acquisitions, and, he paused, your expertise in authentication and evaluation. There it was, the real reason. You want me to verify your stolen wines? I want you to verify wines with questionable provenance, Alec corrected, some of which may have been liberated from collections whose owners no longer appreciated them. That's still theft. Is it theft if the original owner acquired the wine through colonial exploitation, or tax evasion, or insider trading? Alec's eyes were steady on hers. The wine world is built on centuries of questionable acquisitions, Olivia. I'm just more honest about it than most. She wanted to argue, wanted to throw the proposal back at him and walk away with her moral superiority intact. But she thought about the vineyard's account balance, about the equipment they couldn't afford to replace, about the staff they'd had to let go, about Jessica's constant pressure to sell to a conglomerate that would strip the land and bottle cheap wine under her father's name. I need time, she said finally. Take all you need. But Olivia? Alec waited until she met his eyes. Your sister's already talking to buyers. She called Meridian Wines 3 days ago. They're preparing an offer. Ice flooded Olivia's veins. How do you know that? Because I make it my business to know things that matter. He pulled out his phone and showed her a screenshot of an email chain. Jessica to a corporate buyer discussing valuations and timeline for acquisition. The most recent message was dated yesterday morning, before the gala, before Nathan's betrayal was public. Jessica had been planning to sell while pretending to support Olivia's efforts to save the vineyard. "She's been lying to me," Olivia whispered. "She's been lying to everyone, including Nathan, probably." Alec put away his phone. "Your sister wants money, Olivia. Fast money. She doesn't care about the vineyard's history or your father's legacy. She wants to cash out and move on." "I can't let her do that." "Then don't. Sign my proposal. With my investment, you'll have the capital to buy out her share entirely. She'll get her money. You'll get full control. Everyone wins." It was too neat, too convenient. Olivia's professional instincts screamed warnings, but her heart, her battered and furious heart, whispered that maybe this was exactly what she needed. "I'll think about it," she said. Alex smiled. "That's all I ask." They ordered food after that, and the conversation shifted to safer topics. Wine, mostly. Alex's knowledge was impressive and eclectic, spanning regions and vintages with the ease of someone who'd spent years studying the subject. He told stories about auctions in Hong Kong, private cellars in Tuscany, legendary bottles that had changed hands for sums that made Olivia dizzy. He never mentioned Nathan or Jessica, never asked about her feelings or her pain. It was almost restful, pretending for an hour that she was just a woman having lunch with an interesting man who happened to know a suspicious amount about international wine smuggling. When the meal ended and Alec paid the bill despite her protests, he walked her outside into the cool afternoon air. "Thank you," Olivia said, "for the lunch, the proposal, the distraction from my disaster of a life." "Your life isn't a disaster." Alec's hand came up to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, the gesture surprisingly gentle. "It's just being renovated. Sometimes you have to tear down the old structure before you can build something better." "Is that what last night was? Demolition?" "Last night was you taking control of your own narrative." His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. "How did it feel?" Olivia thought about the kiss, about the way the entire ballroom had gone silent, about the look on Nathan's face. "Terrifying," she admitted, "but also powerful." "Good." Alec's smile was dangerous. "Get used to that feeling. You're going to need it." He stepped back, breaking the contact, and Olivia felt the loss of his warmth like a physical thing. "Call me when you've made your decision," he said. "About the vineyard, about us, about what comes next." "There is no us," Olivia protested. "Isn't there?" Alec's eyes held hers. "We kissed in front of 200 people, Olivia. We announced a partnership. The entire city thinks we're together. We might as well make use of it." "Make use of it how?" "However you want. Business partners. Fake relationship to make your ex jealous. Real relationship because you're curious what that kiss would feel like without an audience." He shrugged. "The possibilities are endless." Before she could form a coherent response, a black car pulled up to the curb. Alec opened the back door. "This is for you. My driver will take you wherever you need to go." "I can get my own car. I know you can, but let me do this. Let me take care of the small things while you figure out the big ones." He held the door steady. "Please." Olivia climbed into the car because arguing seemed exhausting, and she was suddenly very tired. As the car pulled away, she looked back through the rear window. Alex stood on the sidewalk watching her leave, his hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "The offer stands for 72 hours. After that, I move on to other opportunities. Choose wisely." Olivia stared at the message for the entire ride home. 72 hours to decide if she was going to partner with a criminal to save her father's legacy. 72 hours to figure out if Alec Castellano was her salvation or her destruction. When she arrived back at her apartment, Sarah was waiting with Thai food and more questions than Olivia had answers for. "So?" Sarah demanded before Olivia had even closed the door. "How did it go? Is he as dangerous as he looks? Did he try anything? Are you partners now? Are you dating? Are you—" Sarah, breathe. Olivia collapsed onto the couch. "It was complicated." "Complicated how?" Olivia pulled out the proposal folder and handed it over. Sarah's eyes went wide as she scanned the numbers. "Holy shit, $2 million? in exchange for 40% of profits and my expertise in wine authentication. For his stolen wine collection. Allegedly stolen. Sarah looked up from the documents. You're actually considering this. Jessica's trying to sell the vineyard behind my back. Alex showed me proof. She's been talking to corporate buyers while pretending to be on my side. That bitch. Sarah's voice was flat with fury. I'm keying both their cars now. I don't care if it's illegal. It's definitely illegal. So is wine smuggling. But you're thinking about going into business with a smuggler. He's not just a smuggler. Olivia took the folder back. He's smart, connected. He knows the industry inside and out, and he's offering me a way to save everything my father built. At what cost? That was the question, wasn't it? Olivia thought about Alex's hand on her face, the way he'd looked at her like she was something rare and valuable. She thought about the kiss that had started all of this, the way her body had responded to his touch despite every logical reason to push him away. I don't know yet, she admitted, but I have 72 hours to figure it out. Her phone rang. Nathan's name flashed across the screen. Sarah reached for it. Want me to tell him to go to hell? No. Olivia picked up the phone. I'll handle it. She answered, and Nathan's voice flooded through. Liv, thank God. I've been trying to reach you all day. We need to talk. Please, let me explain. Explain what, Nathan? That you've been sleeping with my sister for 8 months? That you were going to marry me while keeping her on the side? What exactly needs explaining? It's not like that. It happened. We didn't mean for it to happen, but stop. Olivia's voice was ice. I don't want to hear about how it just happened. Adults don't just fall into bed with their fiancé's sister. They make choices. You chose Jessica, so deal with the consequences. And you chose that criminal. Nathan's tone turned bitter. You chose Alec Castellano. Do you have any idea who he really is? What he's done? I know exactly who he is. He told me himself, which is more honesty than I've gotten from you in 8 months. He's using you, Liv, to get to the vineyard, to add it to his collection of stolen assets. Maybe, but at least he's upfront about it. Olivia stood and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. You know what the difference is between you and Alec? He admits what he wants. You pretend to be the good guy while lying to my face. I love you. Nathan's voice cracked. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But I love you, and we can fix this if you'll just... No. The word was final. We can't fix this. You broke it beyond repair the moment you touched my sister. And you know what? I'm glad you did. Because now I see exactly who you are. She hung up before he could respond. Sarah was staring at her with something like awe. Damn, that was cold. That was necessary. Olivia's hands were shaking. I'm done being the understanding girlfriend, done making excuses for people who don't deserve them. So what now? Olivia looked at the proposal folder, then at Alec's business card, then at the white roses still perfect in their vase. Now I call my lawyer, she said, and I find out exactly what I'm getting into. And if your lawyer says it's a bad idea? Olivia smiled, and it felt sharp enough to cut. Then I do it anyway. Olivia's lawyer, Marcus Chen, was not impressed. This is a terrible idea, he said for the 3rd time, spreading Alec's proposal across his mahogany desk like evidence at a crime scene. Legally questionable, financially risky, and professionally suicidal. But is it doable? Olivia leaned forward in her chair, ignoring the headache building behind her eyes. She'd been in Marcus's office for 2 hours, dissecting every clause of Alec's offer, while Marcus pointed out approximately 17,000 ways it could destroy her life. Doable and advisable are two very different things. Marcus removed his glasses and pinched the bridge of his nose. Yes, technically, the contract is sound. The terms are actually surprisingly favorable to you. But, Olivia, this man is under federal investigation. Allegedly under investigation. The FBI doesn't allegedly investigate people. They either do or they don't, and in Castellano's case, they definitely do. Marcus pulled up something on his computer. I made some calls. My contact at the bureau says they've been building a case against him for 3 years. Wine fraud, trafficking in stolen goods, possible connections to organized crime. Possible isn't definite. It's definite enough that partnering with him could make you an accessory. Marcus's voice softened. I know you're going through hell right now. Nathan and your sister, the public spectacle, the pressure with the vineyard. But making a deal with Castellano isn't going to solve your problems. It's going to create new ones. Olivia stood and walked to the window overlooking downtown. From Marcus's 23rd floor office, the city looked clean and organized, every building in its proper place. Nothing like the chaos of her actual life. Jessica's selling, she said quietly, whether I want her to or not. She has 30%. She can't force a sale alone, but she can make my life hell. Block every decision. Veto every improvement. Run the vineyard into the ground out of spite until I have no choice but to agree to sell. Then buy her out. Get a traditional loan, offer her fair market value for her share. I tried. 3 banks turned me down. The vineyard's debt-to-income ratio is too high. No one will lend me the money I need. Olivia turned back to face him. Alex offering $2 million, Marcus. Enough to buy out Jessica completely and still have capital left to modernize operations. Without him, I lose everything. Marcus was quiet for a long moment, studying her with the expression of someone watching a friend walk toward a cliff edge. If you do this, he said finally, you need to protect yourself. I'll add clauses limiting your liability for any illegal activities on his part. Everything goes through proper channels. No cash transactions, no off-book deals. If he's using you as a front for money laundering, I want you insulated. So you'll draw up the contracts. I'll draw them up. But Olivia? Marcus's eyes were serious. The moment anything feels wrong, the moment he asks you to do something questionable, you walk away. No matter how much money is on the table. Understood? Understood. She left Marcus's office with a stack of revised documents and a sense that she was stepping off a ledge without knowing if there was ground below or just empty air. Her phone buzzed. A text from Alec. Heard you met with your lawyer. Smart move. Dinner tonight? We should discuss next steps. Olivia stared at the message. How did he know she'd been with Marcus? Was he having her followed? The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it confirmed what she already suspected. Alec Castellano was always 3 moves ahead, playing a game she was only beginning to understand. She texted back, 8 o'clock? Your choice of location, but somewhere public. His response came immediately. Trust issues? I'm wounded. I'll send a car. The car arrived at 7:45, sleek and black with tinted windows that made Olivia feel like she was being transported to a mob meeting. The driver was silent, professional, his eyes never meeting hers in the rearview mirror. They drove north out of the city through neighborhoods that grew progressively more expensive until they pulled up to a building Olivia recognized from architectural magazines. The Apex, a members-only club housed in a converted factory that catered to people who considered billionaire a starting point rather than a destination. I said somewhere public, Olivia told the driver. The main dining room is quite public, Miss Brooks. Mr. Castellano assured me you'd be comfortable. She wasn't comfortable, but she was curious enough to get out of the car. The interior was all exposed brick and industrial lighting, converted machinery serving as art installations. A hostess, who looked like she moonlighted as a supermodel, led Olivia through the main dining room, past tables occupied by people whose faces she recognized from Forbes covers and political news feeds, to a private room at the back. Alex stood when she entered, dressed in a dark suit that probably cost more than her monthly mortgage. He'd rolled his sleeves to his elbows, revealing forearms corded with muscle and marked with a scar that ran from his wrist toward his elbow. You're late, he said, but he was smiling. I'm exactly on time. You're just compulsively early. Olivia took the seat across from him, noting the wine already breathing on the table. Is this how you always operate, controlling every variable? Only the ones that matter. Alec poured her a glass. I hope you don't mind that I ordered. The chef here is exceptional, and I took the liberty of selecting dishes that pair well with this particular vintage. Which is? 1985 Sassy Kaya, one of the finest Super Tuscans ever produced, technically not in the traditional Tuscan style, but revolutionary in its own right. He raised his glass. To revolution. Olivia touched her glass to his but didn't drink. My lawyer thinks I'm making a mistake. Your lawyer is probably right, but mistakes are how we learn. Alex set down his wine. Did he add protective clauses? Extensive ones. If you're using me to launder money or hide illegal activities, I'm insulated. Smart. I'd expect nothing less from Marcus Chen. He has an excellent reputation. Alec leaned back, completely unbothered by the implication that he might be a criminal. Did he mention that I already had my own team review the revisions? I approved all of them. You knew I'd bring him in. I counted on it. I don't want a partner who makes reckless decisions, Olivia. I want someone who protects herself. Someone smart enough to see the traps and savvy enough to avoid them. Even if those traps are ones you're setting? Especially then. His smile was sharp. This partnership only works if we're honest with each other. So let me be honest now. I am going to make money from this deal. A lot of money. But so are you. And in the process, you're going to save your father's legacy and build something that makes Jessica regret ever trying to sell. Revenge isn't a sustainable business model. No, but it's an excellent motivator. Alex's expression grew serious. Jessica called me yesterday. Olivia's hand tightened on her wine glass. What? She'd heard about our partnership. Wanted to know if I'd be interested in making her a separate offer for her share of the vineyard. Cut you out entirely. The betrayal was so casual, so complete, that Olivia actually laughed. Of course she did. What did you tell her? That I only work with people who honor their family commitments. Then I hung up. Alec reached into his jacket and pulled out a folded document. She sent this 2 hours later, a formal notice of intent to force a sale of the vineyard within 60 days unless you buy out her share. Olivia unfolded the paper, her eyes scanning the legal language that essentially amounted to an ultimatum. Pay Jessica $400,000 for her 30% stake, or the vineyard goes on the market for whatever corporate vulture wants to pick the bones. I don't have $400,000, Olivia said quietly. I do. Alec pulled out another document, this one a check already filled out for the full amount. Sign my partnership agreement and this is yours. Buy out Jessica tomorrow. Be done with her forever. The check sat on the table between them, like a loaded gun. There's always a catch, Olivia said. What's the catch? No catch. Just terms. I own 40% of the vineyard's future profits. You give me access to your distribution network, and you work with me on special projects that require your expertise. The stolen wine. The wine with interesting provenance. Alec's tone was patient, like he was explaining basic arithmetic to a child. I acquire bottles that need verification. You authenticate them. Everything happens through legal channels. The only difference between me and a traditional auction house is that I'm more flexible about documentation. Flexible meaning you don't care if it's forged. Flexible meaning I understand that provenance is often more narrative than fact. The wine world is built on stories, Olivia. Some of them are true. Some are enhanced. I just help the right bottles find the right buyers. Food arrived before she could respond. Plates of pasta and roasted vegetables arranged with the precision of art. Alec was right about the chef. Everything was perfect, each bite a symphony of flavor that would have delighted her under different circumstances. But she couldn't taste anything except the magnitude of the decision in front of her. Why me? She asked between courses. You could partner with anyone. Why someone you met 24 hours after she publicly destroyed her own reputation? Alec was quiet for a moment, swirling wine in his glass. Do you know what I was doing at the Metropolitan Gala? Networking. Scouting acquisition targets? Watching you. He met her eyes directly. I've been following your career for 2 years, Olivia. Ever since you wrote that piece about the counterfeit Burgundy scandal. The way you broke down the fraud, explained the chemistry of fake aging, traced the bottles back to their source. It was brilliant. It was journalism, basic research. It was expertise that most people in this industry don't possess. You have a gift for seeing what others miss, for finding truth in a business built on beautiful lies. Alec leaned forward. I came to the gala specifically to meet you. I was going to introduce myself, make my pitch, try to convince you to consult on a few projects. Then I saw Nathan kiss your sister, and I saw the look on your face, and I realized something. What? That you were finally angry enough to take a risk. that the woman who'd spent years playing by the rules was ready to break a few. So I took a chance. His smile was self-deprecating. Turns out kissing you in front of 200 people was the best business decision I've ever made. It wasn't a business decision. Wasn't it? You wanted revenge. I wanted a partnership. We both got what we needed. I needed a lot more than revenge, Olivia said, surprised by the rawness in her own voice. I needed to feel like I had control over something, like I wasn't just a victim waiting for someone else to decide my future. And now? Alex's voice was gentle. How do you feel now? Olivia looked at the check on the table, at the revised contracts in her bag, at the man across from her who was either her salvation or her destruction. Terrified, she admitted, but also alive. For the first time in years, I feel alive. Then signed the papers. Alec pulled out a pen and set it beside the check. Choose the fear that moves you forward instead of the fear that holds you back. Her hand shook as she reached for the pen. Every rational thought screamed at her to stop, to think, to wait. But she'd been rational her entire life, and where had it gotten her? Engaged to a man who loved her sister, fighting to save a business her own family wanted to destroy, constantly playing defense while everyone else set the terms. She was done being rational. Olivia signed the partnership agreement with quick, decisive strokes. Then she took the check, folded it carefully, and slipped it into her purse. 60-40 split, she said. I maintain creative control and final say on all vineyard operations. You get access to distribution and my authentication services for projects I approve. Agreed. And Alec? She met his eyes. If you're lying to me, if this is some elaborate con to steal my vineyard, I will destroy you. I will find every secret you're hiding and expose them. I will make it my life's mission to bring you down. His smile was approving. Now you sound like a partner. They shook hands across the table, and Olivia felt the world tilt on its axis. She'd just made a deal with a man the FBI was investigating, just signed away 40% of her family's legacy, just committed herself to a path that would either save everything or destroy it completely. When do we start? She asked. Tomorrow. I'll have my team meet with yours to begin the transition. We'll buy out Jessica by end of week, and then... Alex's expression grew animated. Then we rebuild. New equipment, new distribution deals, expansion into markets your father never dreamed of. We're going to make Brooks Family Vineyard into something legendary. My father always said the best revenge is a wine so good it makes your enemies weep. Your father was a wise man. Alec raised his glass. To making our enemies weep. They drank to that, and Olivia felt the sassicaia burn down her throat like liquid courage. The rest of dinner passed in a blur of logistics and planning. Alec outlined his vision for the vineyard with the enthusiasm of someone who'd been thinking about this for years. New fermentation techniques, strategic partnerships with European distributors, a premium reserve line that would compete with the most exclusive labels in the world. He talked about wine the way Olivia did, with passion and precision and a deep understanding of the art and science behind every bottle. For someone allegedly involved in criminal enterprises, he had an almost scholarly appreciation for the craft. You really love this, she said at one point. It's not just about the money for you. Money is how we keep score. But wine? Alec's expression softened. Wine is history in liquid form. Every bottle tells a story about the land it came from, the people who made it, the moment it was born. Some people collect art. I collect stories. Even if those stories are stolen? Especially then. The most interesting stories are the ones someone tried to hide. He poured the last of the sassicaia into her glass. Like you. I'm not hiding anything. You're hiding how angry you really are, how much Nathan's betrayal hurt, how desperately you want to prove everyone wrong about you. Alec's eyes were knowing. You're hiding behind professionalism and competence, but underneath you're furious, and that fury is going to make you unstoppable. No one had ever read her that clearly. Not Nathan, not Sarah, not even her father. It was unsettling and strangely comforting at the same time. Are you always this perceptive? She asked. Only about things I care about. The way he looked at her made heat pool low in her stomach. And I'm starting to care quite a bit about you, Olivia Brooks. The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implication. "This is just business," Olivia said, but her voice lacked conviction. "Is it?" Alex stood and came around the table, offering his hand. "Because that kiss at the gala felt remarkably personal. That was for show." "Was it?" He pulled her to her feet, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "Because I've been thinking about it constantly. The way you tasted, the way you kissed me back like you were drowning, and I was air. The way the entire room disappeared until it was just us." "Alec." Her protest died when his hand came up to cup her jaw. "Tell me you haven't thought about it," he murmured. "Tell me you don't wonder what it would be like without an audience. Tell me I'm alone in this and I'll step back right now." Olivia should have lied, should have protected herself with distance and denial, but she was so tired of lying, especially to herself. "I've thought about it," she whispered. His smile was triumphant and tender at the same time. "Good, because I'd hate to be the only one losing sleep." He leaned down slowly, giving her every opportunity to pull away, but Olivia rose up to meet him instead, her hands fisting in his shirt as his mouth claimed hers. This kiss was nothing like the performance at the gala. That had been about proving a point, about revenge and spectacle. This was about them, just them. No cameras, no witnesses, no agenda except the raw need to taste each other again. Alec kissed her like he was solving a puzzle, learning her preferences with the same focus he brought to wine. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss, and Olivia responded with enthusiasm that surprised her. She pressed against him, craving the solid warmth of his body, the way he made her feel reckless and safe at the same time. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alec rested his forehead against hers. "Come home with me," he said. "That's a terrible idea." "Probably, but when has that stopped you?" His thumb traced her swollen lower lip. "We're already partners, already the subject of gossip and speculation. Why not give them something real to talk about? Because mixing business and pleasure is the fastest way to destroy both. Or it's the way to build something stronger than either alone." Alex stepped back, giving her space to think. "I won't pressure you. The choice is yours. But Olivia, I want you. I've wanted you since I read your first article. I've wanted you since I saw you command that gala like a general directing troops. And I definitely want you after that kiss." Olivia's phone buzzed, shattering the moment. She pulled it out and saw Sarah's name on the screen. "I have to take this," she said. "Of course." She stepped into the hallway, her legs unsteady. "Sarah? Where are you? I've been calling for an hour." "I'm at dinner. With Alec." "Why? What's wrong?" "What's wrong is that Nathan just showed up at my apartment looking for you. He's drunk, Liv, crying about how he made a mistake, how he needs to talk to you, how you're ruining your life by getting involved with Castellano." Sarah's voice was tight with anger. "I told him to leave, but he's sitting on the stairs outside my building like some tragic rom-com hero. It's pathetic." Olivia closed her eyes. Of course Nathan was spiraling. Of course he'd decided now was the time to fight for her, after she'd finally found the strength to walk away. "I'll handle it," she said. "Want me to handle it? I've got pepper spray and absolutely no moral qualms about using it." Despite everything, Olivia smiled. Tempting, but no, I need to deal with this myself. She hung up and returned to the private dining room where Alec waited, his expression carefully neutral. "Problem?" he asked. "Nathan's at my best friend's apartment, drunk and demanding to talk to me." "Want me to go with you?" The offer was tempting. Having Alec beside her, his mere presence a reminder to Nathan of everything he'd lost, would be satisfying, but this was something she needed to do alone. "No, this is my mess to clean up." She grabbed her purse. "But thank you, for dinner, for the partnership, for making me feel like I'm not crazy for taking this risk." Alec walked her to the door. "You're not crazy. You're brave. There's a difference. Or I'm brave enough to be crazy." She paused at the threshold. "About earlier, about coming home with you. No pressure, no expectations." He brushed a kiss across her forehead. "We have time, Olivia. All the time in the world." The car ride back to the city gave Olivia time to build her armor. By the time she arrived at Sarah's building, she'd transformed back into the composed professional who'd handled a ballroom full of shocked guests with her head held high. Nathan sat on the front steps exactly where Sarah had said, a bottle of whiskey cradled in his lap. He looked terrible. His hair was disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes red-rimmed and glassy. He looked up when she approached, and something like hope flashed across his face. "Liv, you came. Sarah said you were causing a scene. I'm here to end it." She kept her distance, staying on the sidewalk. "What do you want, Nathan?" "I want to explain, to apologize, to fix this." He stood, swaying slightly. "I love you. I know I screwed up, but I love you, and we can get past this if you'll just give me a chance." "You had your chance. You had 3 years of chances. You chose to waste them sleeping with my sister." "That was a mistake. She was a mistake. You're the one I want to marry, the one I want to build a life with." Nathan took a step toward her. "Please, Liv, don't throw away 3 years over one mistake." "One mistake?" Olivia's laugh was bitter. "Nathan, it wasn't one mistake. It was 8 months of lies. 8 months of coming home to me after being with her. 8 months of planning our wedding while keeping her as a backup plan." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like? Explain it to me. Make me understand how you kiss my sister in front of 200 people and still expect me to believe you love me." Nathan's face crumpled. "I don't know. I don't know what happened or how it got so out of control. Jessica and I, we connected, and I tried to stop it. I swear I tried, but you didn't try hard enough. You never tried hard enough." Olivia's voice was steel. "You know what I realized tonight? You didn't just betray me with Jessica. You betrayed me every day you pretended to be someone you weren't. Every time you said you loved me while wanting someone else. Every time you made me feel like I wasn't enough when the problem was that you weren't enough for me. That's not fair." "Fair?" The word came out as a shout. "You want to talk about fair? Was it fair that I found out about your affair by watching you kiss my sister? Was it fair that I had to stand there in front of everyone I know and pretend to be okay while my world was ending? Was it fair that you're sitting here drunk and self-pitying while I'm trying to salvage everything you helped destroy?" Nathan recoiled like she'd slapped him. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant to hurt you." "But you did. You hurt me more than I thought possible. And you know what the worst part is?" Olivia's voice dropped. "I don't even miss you. I thought I would. I thought losing you would break me. But all I feel is relief that I finally see you clearly." "You don't mean that. You're angry. You're hurt. But you don't mean that." "I mean every word." She pulled his apartment key from her purse and tossed it at his feet. "Stay away from me, Nathan. Stay away from the vineyard. Stay away from my life. You made your choice. Live with it." She turned to walk away, but Nathan grabbed her arm. "Is this because of him? Because of Castellano?" His grip was too tight, his breath sharp with alcohol. "Did he get in your head? Convince you to throw away everything we had? Let go of me. He's using you, Liv. He's a criminal, a con artist. He doesn't care about you or the vineyard. He just wants—" "I said let go!" Olivia wrenched her arm free. "What Alec wants is irrelevant to us. We're done, Nathan. We were done the moment you touched my sister. You're making a mistake. Partnering with him, kissing him, whatever this is, you're going to regret it. Maybe, but it'll be my mistake to make. My choice. My regret if it comes to that." She met his eyes one last time. "Goodbye, Nathan. I hope Jessica makes you happy. I really do. Because you're going to need something when you realize what you've lost." This time, when she walked away, he didn't follow. Sarah was waiting inside, wine already poured, sympathy written across her face. "How bad?" she asked. "Bad, but necessary." Olivia collapsed onto the couch and accepted the wine gratefully. "He thinks I'm making a mistake with Alec." "Are you?" "Probably, but it's my mistake to make." Sarah curled up beside her. "So you're really doing this? Partnering with a criminal to save the vineyard?" "He's not a criminal. He's morally flexible." "That's literally what criminals say about themselves." "I know." Olivia leaned her head on Sarah's shoulder. "But he's also my only option. And honestly, After everything with Nathan and Jessica, working with someone who admits he's trouble feels more honest than trusting someone who pretends to be good. That's either very wise or completely insane. Can it be both? They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, sipping wine and watching the city lights through Sarah's window. "Are you going to sleep with him?" Sarah asked. "What? No, this is business. Business partners don't kiss like you two kissed. At the gala or in whatever private moment I'm sure happened tonight based on your face." Olivia's face heated. "Nothing happened." "But you wanted it to." "That's irrelevant." "It's absolutely relevant." Sarah turned to look at her. "Liv, I know you're going through hell, but please be careful with this guy. He might be helping you save the vineyard, but he's also dangerous. And not in the fun, mysterious way. In the actual federal investigation way. I know the risks. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, you're making decisions based on anger and hurt instead of logic, and that's how people end up in situations they can't escape." Olivia wanted to argue, wanted to insist she was thinking clearly, making smart choices, protecting herself. But the truth was that Sarah was right. She was angry, hurt, acting on impulse instead of reason. And for the first time in her life, she didn't care. "Maybe I need to make some bad decisions," she said quietly. "Maybe I've been so careful for so long that I forgot how to take risks, how to want something just because I want it, not because it's smart or safe or approved by everyone else." "And what do you want?" Olivia thought about Alex's hands in her hair, his mouth on hers, the way he looked at her like she was something rare and valuable. She thought about the vineyard saved, Jessica bought out, a future built on her own terms instead of someone else's expectations. "I want to win," she said finally. "I want to take everything Nathan and Jessica tried to destroy and turn it into something so successful it haunts them. I want to prove that I'm not a victim, that I'm not broken, that I'm exactly as strong as I need to be." "And Alec?" "Alec's the weapon I'm going to use to do it." Sarah studied her for a long moment, then raised her wine glass. "Then let's make sure you don't become collateral damage in your own war." They drank to that, and Olivia felt the partnership agreement burning in her purse like a promise and a threat. Tomorrow she would buy out Jessica. Tomorrow the real work would begin. Tomorrow she would step fully into this new life she'd chosen. But tonight she let herself sit with her best friend and pretend that she wasn't terrified of what came next. Her phone buzzed one last time. A text from Alec. "Sweet dreams, partner. Tomorrow we change everything." Olivia smiled and typed back, "Tomorrow we burn it all down and build something better." His response was immediate. "Now you're speaking my language." She fell asleep on Sarah's couch with her phone in her hand and the taste of expensive wine on her lips, dreaming of vineyards on fire and rising from the ash like something new and dangerous and completely her own. 6 weeks later, Olivia stood in the renovated fermentation room of Brooks Family Vineyard and watched $20,000 worth of new equipment being installed with the efficiency of a military operation. Alex's team worked with the precision of people who'd done this before, transforming her father's aging facility into something that belonged in the 21st century. "The temperature control system alone will reduce spoilage by 40%, Marco, Alex's operations manager, explained as workers fitted sleek stainless steel tanks into place. "And these fermentation vessels are top of the line. French-made, same ones they use at Chateau Margaux." Olivia ran her hand along the cool metal, feeling the weight of transformation settling over everything. Jessica had taken Alex's buyout check without even visiting the vineyard one last time. Just signed the papers, deposited the money, and sent a single text. "Hope you know what you're doing." The answer was no. Olivia had absolutely no idea what she was doing, but she was doing it anyway, with a ferocity that surprised even her. "Miss Brooks?" One of the workers gestured toward the door. "Mr. Castellano just arrived." Olivia's pulse quickened despite herself. She'd seen Alec nearly every day since signing the partnership agreement, long meetings about operations and strategy that somehow always ended with them standing too close, talking too long. The air between them charged with everything they weren't saying. They hadn't kissed again, hadn't crossed the line from business into pleasure, though the temptation was a constant hum beneath every interaction. Alec had kept his word about not pressuring her, but his patience felt like its own form of seduction. She found him in the tasting room, examining the wall where her father had hung photos documenting 50 years of harvests. Alec wore jeans and a black sweater, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. Almost normal if you ignored the platinum watch that cost more than a car and the way he carried himself like someone who'd never doubted his place in the world. "The 1987 harvest," he said, without turning around, pointing to a photo of her father standing among the vines, his face sun-weathered and proud. "That was a legendary year. Your father created something special. You've studied our history. I study everything that matters to me." He turned to face her, and his smile was warm. "The vineyard's looking good. Marco says we're ahead of schedule." "Your team is incredible. They work like they actually care about the outcome." "They do care. I hire people who understand that excellence isn't optional." Alec moved toward her, stopping just inside her personal space. "But I didn't come here to talk about construction schedules." "No? No? I came to take you away from all this for a few hours. You've been working 18-hour days for 6 weeks straight. You're going to burn out if you don't take a break." "I'm fine." "You're exhausted. When's the last time you ate something that wasn't protein bars and coffee?" Olivia wanted to argue, but her stomach chose that moment to growl loudly. Alec's eyebrow lifted in triumph. "See? Even your body is staging a rebellion." He held out his hand. "Come on, there's something I want to show you." "Alec, I have meetings, which I've already rescheduled. Your afternoon is clear, no excuses." His expression softened. "Trust me, you'll like this." Against her better judgment, Olivia took his hand. They drove north in Alec's car, a black Mercedes that handled the winding country roads with the grace of something designed for exactly this purpose. He wouldn't tell her where they were going, just kept driving deeper into wine country as the landscape transformed from commercial vineyards to wilder, more remote terrain. "This is technically kidnapping," Olivia said after 30 minutes. "Technically, you agreed to come." "Under duress. Under the promise of food and mystery. Totally different." Alec glanced at her, his expression amused. "Relax, Olivia. Not everything is a power play. Sometimes a drive is just a drive. Nothing with you is just anything." "Fair point." He turned onto a narrow dirt road that Olivia would have missed entirely if he hadn't known exactly where to look. "But I promise this is worth it." The road wound through dense forest before opening onto a clearing that made Olivia's breath catch. A small vineyard stretched before them, maybe 5 acres total, the vines old and gnarled and clearly tended with obsessive care. A stone cottage sat at the edge of the property, smoke curling from its chimney. "What is this place?" Olivia asked. "My secret." Alec parked and came around to open her door. "I bought this property 3 years ago. Nobody knows about it except my closest associates. It's where I test new techniques, experiment with varietals that don't make commercial sense. It's where I remember why I fell in love with wine in the first place." He led her through the vines, pointing out different rootstocks and trellising methods, explaining his experiments with the enthusiasm of a scientist describing a breakthrough. This was a side of Alex she'd never seen, unguarded, passionate about the craft instead of the profit. "The soil here is almost identical to certain regions in Piedmont," he explained, crouching to grab a handful of earth. "Perfect drainage, ideal mineral content. I've been trying to recreate a specific Barolo that my grandfather made in Italy before the war, the one that got lost when the family vineyard was destroyed." "Your family made wine?" 3 generations of Castellanos were winemakers in a small village outside Turin. "My grandfather was supposed to inherit the vineyard, but the war destroyed everything. The land, the vines, the equipment, everything except the stories." Alec's voice was distant, lost in memory. "He came to America with nothing but those stories and a palate that could identify any wine blindfolded. He taught me everything he knew before he died." "Is that why you do this? The wine business? You're trying to rebuild what he lost?" "I'm trying to prove that you can lose everything and still create something beautiful." He stood and brushed the dirt from his hands. "Come on. I have lunch waiting." The cottage interior was cozy and lived in, with exposed wooden beams and a fireplace that filled the space with warmth. A table was set for 2, covered with dishes that smelled incredible. "You cooked?" Olivia asked, surprised. "Don't sound so shocked. I'm Italian. Cooking is genetic." Alec pulled out her chair. Sit, eat. I want to see you consume something with actual nutritional value. The food was simple but perfect. Fresh pasta with a sauce that tasted like summer, bread still warm from the oven, a salad of vegetables from what Alec claimed was his garden. And wine, of course, a red that was unlike anything Olivia had tasted before. "This is from your vines?" she asked after the first sip. "Last year's harvest, still young, needs time to develop fully, but you can taste the potential." He watched her carefully. "What do you think?" Olivia closed her eyes and let the wine speak to her. Dark fruit, yes, but also something earthy and complex. A hint of tobacco, leather, the ghost of flowers past their bloom. It was rough around the edges, but showed promise. "It's ambitious," she said finally. "Trying to be something it's not quite ready to be yet. But with patience and the right handling, it could be extraordinary." "That's what I thought, too." Alec's smile was knowing. "Reminds me of someone else I know." "Careful. Flattery will get you everywhere. That's what I'm counting on." They ate in comfortable silence for a while, the kind of quiet that felt intimate rather than awkward. Outside the window, afternoon light turned the vines golden, and Olivia felt something inside her chest ease for the first time in weeks. "Why did you really bring me here?" she asked. "Not just for lunch." Alex set down his fork and leaned back. "Because I wanted you to see this side of me. The part that isn't business deals and federal investigations and morally flexible acquisitions. The part that actually gives a damn about the wine itself." "I never thought you didn't care." "Didn't you? Be honest, Olivia. You still think I'm using you, still waiting for the other shoe to drop, for me to reveal some master plan where I steal everything and leave you with nothing." She wanted to deny it, but he deserved honesty. "The thought has crossed my mind." "Good. That means you're smart." He poured more wine. "But here's the truth. I don't need to steal your vineyard. I could buy 10 vineyards with the money I have. What I need is a partner who understands wine the way I do. Someone who sees it as more than just a commodity. And someone who can authenticate your questionable acquisitions. That too." His grin was unrepentant. "But mostly someone who challenges me. Who doesn't just go along with everything I say because they're afraid or impressed or intimidated. You fight me on every decision, question every assumption, make me justify every choice. It's infuriating and absolutely necessary. So I'm your business conscience? You're my partner, in every sense that matters." He stood and crossed to her chair, extending his hand. "Come outside. There's one more thing I want to show you." She let him lead her back into the vineyard as the sun started its descent toward the horizon. He stopped at the oldest section of vines where the twisted trunks looked like sculptures carved by time. "These are 90 years old," Alex said, running his hand along the ancient wood. "When I bought this property, the previous owner wanted to tear them out, said they weren't productive anymore, taking up space that could be used for younger, more profitable vines. But you kept them." "I kept them because they have stories, because they survived Prohibition and the Depression and every trend that said they were obsolete. Because sometimes the things that look dead still have life in them if you're patient enough to wait." He turned to face her. "Kind of like you in the vineyard." "I'm not dead." "No, but you were dying a little bit every day, staying with Nathan, working a job that didn't challenge you, playing it safe." His hand came up to cup her face. "And then you kissed me in front of 200 people and came back to life." That's a very romantic interpretation of a revenge kiss. Was it just revenge? His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Because I've been thinking about that kiss for 6 weeks, Olivia. Thinking about how you tasted, how you felt pressed against me, how you kissed me back like you wanted it as much as I did. And I'm starting to think it was never just about making Nathan jealous." Her heart was racing, her breath shallow. "What was it about?" "This." He leaned down and kissed her softly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't pull away. Instead, Olivia rose up to meet him, her hands fisting in his sweater as his mouth claimed hers with a tenderness that made her ache. This kiss was nothing like the performance at the gala or the passionate encounter at the restaurant. This was slow and deep and devastating in its honesty. Alec kissed her like he had all the time in the world, like they weren't standing in a vineyard with the sun setting and reality waiting to intrude. His hand slid into her hair, tilting her head to deepen the kiss, and Olivia made a sound that was half surrender, half demand. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Alec rested his forehead against hers. "Stay with me tonight," he said. "No business, no strategies, just us." Every rational thought told her to refuse, to maintain boundaries, protect herself, keep things professional. But Olivia was so tired of being rational, so tired of protecting herself from risks that might actually be worth taking. "Okay," she whispered. His smile was brilliant. "Yeah? Yeah, but Alec?" She met his eyes. "This doesn't change the partnership. Business stays business." "Absolutely. Complete separation of church and state." His grin turned wicked. "Though I should warn you that I'm very good at multitasking." She laughed despite herself, and he pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her as the sun painted the sky in shades of fire. They spent the evening in the cottage, cooking dinner together with easy domesticity that surprised them both. Alec told stories about his grandfather, about growing up in a family that had lost everything but never stopped fighting to rebuild. Olivia talked about her father, about learning to taste wine before she could read, about the pressure of trying to honor a legacy while creating her own path. "He would have liked you," she said at one point. "My father. He always said the best winemakers were equal parts scientist and artist. You're both." "I would have liked him too. Anyone who could raise you must have been exceptional." They moved to the couch after dinner, and Alec built up the fire while Olivia curled into the corner with another glass of his experimental Barolo. The wine was growing on her, its rough edges smoothing out as it opened up. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "About the FBI investigation." Alex settled beside her close enough that their thighs touched. "I wondered when you'd bring that up." "Nathan said they've been building a case for 3 years. Nathan's not wrong. They've been investigating my import operations, specifically whether I'm trafficking in stolen property." Alex's tone was matter-of-fact. "The answer is complicated. Try me." "Okay, let's say a collector in France dies. His heirs don't care about his wine cellar, they just want money. They auction it off without proper documentation of provenance. I buy those bottles, verify their authenticity through chemical analysis and historical research, then resell them to collectors who appreciate what they're getting. Technically legal, but the FBI argues that some of those bottles might have been stolen at some point in their history." "Were they?" "Probably. Wine has been changing hands through conquest and theft for thousands of years. Every major collection in the world contains bottles acquired through questionable means. I'm just more honest about it." He looked at her. "Does that make you want to walk away?" Olivia considered the question seriously. 6 weeks ago, the answer would have been yes. But she'd spent those weeks watching Alec work, seeing his dedication to the vineyard, witnessing his respect for the craft. He operated in gray areas, yes, but he wasn't the villain Nathan had painted him to be. "No," she said finally, "but I need to know, is there any chance this investigation could touch the vineyard? Could your legal troubles become my legal troubles?" "Marcus's contracts protect you. Everything we do together is documented, legitimate, above board. If the FBI comes after me, you walk away clean. I made sure of it." "Why would you do that? Protect me before protecting yourself." Alex's hand came up to trace her jawline. "Because you're worth protecting. And because He stopped, seeming to reconsider his words. "Because this partnership only works if you trust me. Not blindly, but enough to know I won't drag you down with me if things go wrong. And if things go wrong, what happens to you? I've been preparing for that possibility my whole life. I have contingency plans, offshore accounts, passports in 3 different names." His smile was rueful. "I'm very good at disappearing when necessary." The thought of Alec disappearing, of waking up one day to find him gone, made Olivia's chest tight. "Don't," she said. "Don't disappear. Whatever happens, don't just vanish without—" She stopped, unsure how to finish that sentence. "Without saying goodbye." Alec pulled her closer. "I promise. If I have to run, you'll be the first to know." "That's not exactly comforting." "No, but it's honest." He kissed her temple. "I don't make promises I can't keep, Olivia. It's one of my few virtues." They sat by the fire talking until the logs burned down to embers. sharing stories and fears and dreams they hadn't told anyone else. At some point, Olivia fell asleep curled against Alex's chest, his heartbeat steady beneath her ear, his arms solid around her. She woke in the early morning to find herself in an unfamiliar bedroom, tucked under a thick duvet with sunlight streaming through gauzy curtains. For a moment she panicked, then remembered where she was. Alex's cottage. She'd fallen asleep, and he'd carried her to bed. The smell of coffee drew her out of the bedroom. She found Alec in the kitchen, making breakfast with the same focused intensity he brought to everything. He'd changed into fresh clothes but hadn't shaved, and the stubble on his jaw made him look less polished, more human. "Morning," he said, looking up with a smile that made her stomach flip. "I was about to wake you. We have a meeting in 3 hours." Reality crashed back in. The vineyard, the partnership, the world beyond this small, perfect bubble they'd created. "I should get back," Olivia said, suddenly aware that she was wearing the same clothes as yesterday, that her hair was a mess, that spending the night at Alex's cottage was exactly the kind of gossip the wine industry would feast on. "Have breakfast first." Alec plated eggs and toast with the efficiency of practice. "And Olivia? Last night was a mistake," she finished quickly. "We got carried away. It won't happen again." His expression shuddered. "Right, of course, just business." "Alec, it's fine. You're right. We should keep things professional." He set the plate in front of her with more force than necessary. "Eat. Then I'll drive you back." The drive to the vineyard was silent and awkward, all the easy intimacy from the night before replaced with careful distance. When they arrived, Alex's team was already at work, and the transformation was even more dramatic than yesterday. "I'll have Marco send you the updated timeline," Alex said, not meeting her eyes. "And we need to discuss the distribution expansion. My contacts in Europe are ready to move forward." "Okay, I'll review the proposals and—" "Miss Brooks!" One of the vineyard workers came running, his face pale. "There are federal agents here. They're asking for you and Mr. Castellano." Olivia's blood turned to ice. She looked at Alec, whose expression had gone completely blank. "How many?" he asked calmly. 6, maybe more. They have a warrant." "For what?" "They wouldn't say. Just that they need to search the property and question both of you." Alec turned to Olivia. "Don't say anything without Marcus present. Answer only direct questions. Do not volunteer information. Understand?" "What's happening?" "I don't know, but whatever it is—" He grabbed her hand, squeezing once. "Remember what I said. You're protected. This doesn't touch you." 2 agents approached, badges out. The lead agent was a woman in her 40s with sharp eyes and an expression that suggested she'd seen every lie the world had to offer. "Alec Castellano? Olivia Brooks? I'm Special Agent Chen with the FBI. We have a warrant to search these premises in connection with an ongoing investigation into wine fraud and trafficking in stolen property." She handed papers to Alec. "We need both of you to come with us for questioning." "Am I under arrest?" Alec's voice was perfectly level. "Not at this time, but we strongly suggest you cooperate." "I'll cooperate fully, but Miss Brooks requires her attorney present for any questioning." Agent Chen's eyes flicked to Olivia. "You're welcome to call your lawyer, Miss Brooks, but I should inform you that we have evidence suggesting this vineyard has been used to store and distribute stolen wine, evidence that includes your signature on authentication certificates." The world tilted sideways. Olivia grabbed Alec's arm to steady herself. "That's impossible," she said. "I haven't authenticated anything for—" "Don't," Alec cut her off. "Not another word until Marcus gets here." "Smart advice," Agent Chen said. "Mr. Castellano, you're clearly familiar with how this works. Why don't you make this easy on everyone and tell us about the Chateau Lafite collection that came through here last month? The one with questionable provenance that somehow acquired legitimate-looking certificates authenticated by Miss Brooks?" Olivia's mind raced. There had been no Chateau Lafite collection. She hadn't authenticated anything in months except for the vineyard's own inventory. Someone had forged her signature, used her credentials, set her up. But who? And why? Alec's hand found hers, squeezing in warning. "We're not answering any questions without legal representation. You have your warrant. Search what you need to search, but both of us are invoking our right to counsel." Agent Chen smiled thinly. Of course. We'll wait while you make your calls. But Mr. Castellano, we've been building this case for 3 years. We have documentation, testimony, paper trails that lead right back to you and this vineyard. Whatever you're planning to say, whatever story you're going to tell, we've already heard it. She walked away to oversee the search, leaving Olivia and Alex standing in the middle of the vineyard they'd been rebuilding together, watching as federal agents swarmed through the property like ants through sugar. "This is bad," Olivia whispered. "This is really bad." "It's manageable." But Alex's jaw was tight, his eyes scanning the agents with the calculation of someone planning 3 moves ahead. "Call Marcus, tell him to get here immediately. And Olivia?" "Yeah?" "Whatever happens in the next few hours, remember that I kept my promise. You're protected. The contracts make sure of that." "I don't care about the contracts. I care about—" She stopped, unable to finish that sentence in front of federal agents and her collapsing world. Alex's expression softened. "I know. But right now, caring about me is the worst thing you can do. So call your lawyer, keep your head down, and let me handle this." "How are you going to handle this?" His smile was sharp and dangerous. "The same way I handle everything, by being 3 steps ahead of everyone else." Before Olivia could respond, Agent Chen called out from the tasting room. "Mr. Castellano, you might want to see this." They followed her inside to find agents photographing the wall of harvest photos. But that wasn't what made Olivia's stomach drop. It was the wooden crate sitting in the center of the room, its lid already pried open to reveal rows of wine bottles nestled in straw. "Care to explain these?" Agent Chen asked. "Because according to Interpol, these bottles were stolen from a private collection in Bordeaux 8 months ago. And according to the documentation in this crate, they were authenticated by Olivia Brooks 2 weeks ago and stored here, pending sale." Olivia stared at the bottles, at the forged certificates bearing her signature, at the evidence that someone had planted to destroy everything she'd built. "I've never seen those bottles before in my life," she said. "That's what they all say." Agent Chen pulled out handcuffs. "Olivia Brooks, you're under arrest for trafficking in stolen property and conspiracy to commit fraud. You have the right to remain silent." The words faded to static as Olivia felt the cold metal close around her wrists. She looked at Alec, whose face had gone dangerously blank. "Don't say anything," he told her. "Not one word. Marcus will meet you at the station. This is a setup, and we're going to prove it." "How?" But Alec was already being led away by another agent, his hands cuffed behind his back, his expression unreadable. As they put Olivia in the back of a federal vehicle, she watched through the window as agents continued searching her family's vineyard, photographing evidence, dismantling everything she'd worked to rebuild. And somewhere in the chaos, Nathan's voice echoed in her memory. "You're making a mistake. Partnering with him, you're going to regret it." Maybe he'd been right. Maybe she had made a catastrophic mistake, trusted the wrong person, let passion and revenge cloud her judgment. Or maybe this was exactly what Alec had warned her about. The cost of playing in gray areas, of bending rules, of building something beautiful on a foundation that wasn't quite solid. Either way, as the car pulled away from Brooks' family vineyard, Olivia realized that the real battle was just beginning. And this time, she wasn't fighting for her reputation or her father's legacy. She was fighting for her freedom. The interrogation room smelled like industrial cleaner and desperation. Olivia sat handcuffed to a metal table for 3 hours before Marcus finally arrived, his normally composed face tight with fury. "Don't say a word," he told her immediately, then turned to Agent Chen, who'd been watching through the two-way mirror. "You arrested my client without cause. Those authentication certificates are obvious forgeries, and you know it." "We have handwriting experts who disagree," Agent Chen replied coolly. "The signatures match Miss Brooks' authenticated samples. The chemical analysis of the ink shows it's consistent with the pens she uses. And security footage from the vineyard shows someone matching her description receiving the crate 2 weeks ago." "Security footage?" Olivia's voice cracked. "That's impossible. I was in the city 2 weeks ago. I have receipts, witnesses." "Olivia, stop talking." Marcus's hand came down on her shoulder. "Agent Chen, either charge my client or release her. This fishing expedition ends now." Agent Chen smiled thinly. "We're charging her. Trafficking in stolen property, conspiracy to commit fraud, falsifying authentication documents. She'll be arraigned tomorrow morning." The world went sideways. Olivia gripped the edge of the table, her mind racing through impossible scenarios. Someone had forged her signature, planted evidence at the vineyard, even created fake security footage. This wasn't a random investigation. This was a targeted attack designed to destroy her. But who hated her enough to do this? Marcus negotiated her release on bail, $200,000 that Alec's lawyer somehow produced within an hour. She walked out of the federal building at midnight to find Sarah waiting, her face blotchy from crying. "I saw it on the news," Sarah said, pulling Olivia into a fierce hug. "They're saying you and Alec ran a wine fraud operation, that you've been stealing and selling rare bottles for months. It's everywhere, Liv. Every news outlet, every social media platform. Your face is—" "I know." Olivia had seen the headlines on Agent Chen's computer screen. The footage of her being led away in handcuffs was already viral. "Where's Alec?" "Still in custody. His bail hearing isn't until tomorrow." Sarah pulled back, studying her face. "Did he do this? Did he set you up?" The question hung in the air like smoke. Olivia wanted to defend him immediately, but doubt was a poison that spread fast once introduced. "I don't know," she admitted. "I don't know anything anymore." Sarah drove her home, but Olivia couldn't bear to enter the apartment she'd shared with Nathan, the one still full of memories from her old life. Instead, she directed Sarah to a hotel, checked in under a false name, and collapsed on the bed fully clothed. Her phone had been buzzing nonstop since her release. Messages from former colleagues expressing shock, reporters demanding comments, numbers she didn't recognize. But one text made her sit up straight. Unknown number, rooftop garden at the Meridian Hotel. 1 hour. Come alone. Critical information about your case. A friend. "It's a trap," Sarah said when Olivia showed her the message. "Obviously a trap. Or it's someone who knows what really happened." Olivia was already grabbing her jacket. "I have to go." "Then I'm coming with you." "No. Whoever sent this specified alone. If I bring backup, they might not show." "Liv, you're not thinking clearly. You just got arrested. Someone is actively trying to destroy your life. Walking into an unknown meeting is insane." "Everything I've done for the past 2 months has been insane." Olivia pulled Sarah into a quick hug. "Stay here. If I'm not back in 2 hours, call Marcus." The Meridian Hotel was a glass tower in the financial district. Its rooftop garden, a popular spot for corporate events and romantic proposals. At 1 a.m, it was deserted except for security lights casting long shadows across the sculpted hedges. Olivia stepped out of the elevator into the garden, her hand wrapped around the pepper spray Sarah had forced on her. The city spread out below in a carpet of lights, beautiful and indifferent to her crisis. "I'm glad you came." She spun around to find Jessica emerging from behind a trellis of climbing roses. Her sister wore designer jeans and a cashmere sweater, looking like she'd stepped out of a magazine spread rather than a covert midnight meeting. "Jessica?" Olivia's hand tightened on the pepper spray. "What are you doing here?" "Saving you, or trying to." Jessica moved closer, her expression unreadable. "I know you probably hate me right now. I know what Nathan and I did was unforgivable. But Liv, you're in serious trouble, and I think I know who's behind it." "Behind what? The arrest? The planted evidence?" "All of it." Jessica pulled out her phone and showed Olivia a series of emails. "Nathan's been working with someone at the FBI, someone who has a personal vendetta against Alec Castellano. They've been planning this for months. The fake certificates, the security footage, everything." Olivia's blood ran cold as she read through the messages. Nathan, discussing Olivia's signature style with a handwriting expert. Nathan providing access to the vineyard's security system. Nathan coordinating the delivery of stolen wine with someone named Agent Morrison. "Why?" The word came out broken. "Why would Nathan do this?" "Because you humiliated him at the gala. Because you chose Alec over him. Because he's a petty, vindictive bastard who can't stand losing." Jessica's voice was bitter. "And because I told him to." Olivia stumbled backward. "What? Not the arrest? Not the—" "I never wanted that. But the rest of it, destroying your partnership with Alec, ruining your reputation, forcing you to sell the vineyard." Jessica's eyes filled with tears. "I wanted revenge, Liv. For Dad leaving you 70%. for always being his favorite, for being the talented one, the successful one, the one everyone admired. So when Nathan came to me, angry about the gala, I suggested we work together. Ruin your new life the way you ruined mine by rejecting my buyout offers. The betrayal was so complete, so absolute, that Olivia couldn't even process it. Her own sister. Her own flesh and blood. But then the FBI got involved, Jessica continued quickly. Agent Morrison approached Nathan separately, said he'd been trying to build a case against Alec for years and needed inside access to the vineyard. Nathan saw an opportunity to hurt you even more and agreed to help plant evidence. By the time I found out, it was too late to stop it. So you're here to what? Apologize? Ask for forgiveness? I'm here to give you this. Jessica handed over a USB drive. Copies of all Nathan's communications with Morrison, audio recordings of their planning sessions, proof that the evidence was planted, that the security footage was manipulated, that your signatures were forged. Everything you need to clear your name. Olivia stared at the small device, barely larger than her thumb, that apparently contained her salvation. Why? She asked. Why help me now? Because whatever I've done, whatever resentment I've carried, you're still my sister. And watching them destroy you, watching Nathan enjoy it, made me realize I'd become someone Dad would have hated. Jessica's voice cracked. I can't take back what I did. I can't undo the damage, but I can give you a fighting chance. This evidence, if I use it, Nathan gets arrested. You could be implicated as an accessory. I know. I've already contacted a lawyer. I'm prepared to testify to everything I know, accept whatever consequences come. Jessica wiped at her eyes. I deserve them. Olivia looked at her sister, really looked at her, and saw not the confident woman who'd stolen her fiancé, but someone drowning in regret and desperate for redemption. Why did you sleep with Nathan? The question had been burning in her chest for weeks. Why him? Why me? Because it was easy. Because he was there and willing and I was lonely. Because hurting you felt like the only way to matter. Jessica's laugh was hollow. Turns out all I accomplished was proving I'm exactly as pathetic as I always feared. They stood in silence for a long moment, the city humming below them, the weight of family and betrayal and impossible choices pressing down on both their shoulders. What happened to us? Olivia asked quietly. We used to be close. We used to be sisters. Dad happened. His will happened. Life happened. Jessica met her eyes. But maybe it's not too late to find our way back. After you use this evidence, after everything settles, maybe we could try to be family again. Maybe, Olivia said, though she wasn't sure she believed it. But Jessica, don't contact me again, not for a long time. I need space to process everything, to heal from everything you and Nathan did. I understand. Jessica turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, Alec didn't betray you. He's guilty of a lot of things, but not this. Nathan made sure the evidence would implicate both of you, but Alec's been trying to protect you from the beginning. Whatever happens next, remember that. She disappeared into the elevator, leaving Olivia alone with the USB drive and more questions than answers. Olivia went straight to Marcus's office despite the hour, knowing he'd still be awake preparing her defense. She was right. Lights blazed in his 23rd floor windows, and he answered the door in shirt sleeves with legal documents scattered across every surface. Olivia, what are you... His eyes landed on the USB drive in her hand. What is that? Our smoking gun. She handed it over. Jessica gave it to me. It's everything. Communications between Nathan and an FBI agent named Morrison, proof they planted the evidence, recordings of them planning the setup. All of it. Marcus plugged the drive into his computer, and his expression grew darker with every file he opened. This is massive. This is falsifying evidence, conspiracy, abuse of power. If this is authentic, it doesn't just clear you, it destroys the entire case. Can we use it? Legally? Absolutely. Jessica came forward voluntarily, and this documentation of federal misconduct supersedes any questions about how we obtained it. Marcus was already typing furiously. I'll file emergency motions first thing tomorrow morning. Get you in front of a judge, present this evidence. You'll be exonerated before lunch. What about Alec? This clears him too. The case against both of you falls apart the moment we prove the evidence was planted. Marcus looked up from his computer. But Olivia, you understand what using this evidence means? Nathan gets arrested. Morrison gets investigated, probably fired and prosecuted. And Jessica, she's going to face serious consequences for her role in this. I know. Olivia's voice was steady. Use it anyway. I'm done protecting people who tried to destroy me. The emergency hearing happened at 10 the next morning in a federal courtroom packed with reporters and curious spectators. Olivia sat beside Marcus at the defense table, watching Agent Chen's confident expression slowly crumble as Marcus presented the evidence. The recordings were damning. Nathan's voice, clear and unmistakable, discussing how to forge Olivia's signatures. Agent Morrison coaching him on what evidence would be most convincing. Jessica's panicked messages when she realized the setup had gone too far. Your Honor, Marcus addressed the judge, my client has been the victim of a coordinated conspiracy involving her former fiancé and a federal agent with a personal vendetta. The evidence against her was entirely fabricated. We move for immediate dismissal of all charges. The prosecutor looked like he'd been hit with a brick. Your Honor, we need time to verify this evidence to investigate these serious allegations. You should have investigated before arresting my client, the judge interrupted, her voice sharp. Mr. Chen, I'm inclined to grant your motion, but I want a full inquiry into how this happened. Agent Morrison, you're ordered to appear before this court tomorrow to answer questions about your conduct. Morrison, who'd been sitting in the back of the courtroom, turned pale and fled. The judge banged her gavel. All charges against Olivia Brooks are dismissed with prejudice. Miss Brooks, you're free to go. And someone get the FBI director on the phone. We have serious problems with this investigation. The courtroom erupted in noise, reporters shouting questions, prosecutors scrambling, Agent Chen looking like she wanted to sink into the floor. Marcus pulled Olivia into a brief hug. It's over, he said. You're clear. But Olivia wasn't listening. She was looking at the door where Alec had just entered, flanked by his own lawyers. His eyes found hers across the courtroom, and the relief in them was palpable. The judge called for order and addressed Alec's legal team. I assume you're here about Mr. Castellanos' case? We are, Your Honor. Given that the evidence against our client was also fabricated by Agent Morrison, we move for dismissal of all charges. The judge didn't even hesitate. Granted. This entire investigation is tainted. Everyone's dismissed. And someone please arrest Agent Morrison before he gets on a plane to somewhere without extradition. Olivia pushed through the crowd toward Alec, not caring who was watching or what tomorrow's headlines would say. He met her halfway, pulling her into his arms like she was something precious he'd almost lost. You're okay, he murmured into her hair. Thank God you're okay. Jessica came through. She gave us everything we needed. I know. Her lawyer contacted mine last night. Alec pulled back to look at her face. I'm sorry. I should have seen this coming. Should have protected you better. You did protect me. The contracts, the legal separation of our business. Without that, this would have been so much worse. Olivia touched his face, feeling the stubble rough against her palm. When they arrested us, I thought maybe you'd set me up, that I'd been an idiot to trust you. And now? Now I know the only idiots were Nathan and Morrison. You were exactly who you said you were from the beginning. She smiled through tears. A criminal with better ethics than the people trying to take you down. His laugh was rough. That's one way to put it. They left the courthouse together, running a gauntlet of reporters shouting questions. Alec's car was waiting, and he bundled Olivia into the back seat before sliding in beside her. Where to? The driver asked. Alec looked at Olivia. The vineyard? The vineyard, she confirmed. The drive took 2 hours, and they spent it in silence, holding hands like teenagers, processing everything that had happened. By the time they arrived at Brooks' family vineyard, Olivia felt wrung out and raw, like she'd survived a war. The property looked different than when the FBI had swarmed it. Alec's team had cleaned up, removed the evidence markers, put everything back in order. The new fermentation equipment gleamed in the afternoon sun, and the vines stretched toward the horizon in perfect rows. It's still here, Olivia said, almost surprised. After everything, it's still here. Of course it is. We built this to last. Alec led her to the tasting room where her father's photos still hung on the wall. Your father spent 50 years making this vineyard something special. A corrupt FBI agent and your bastard ex-fiancé weren't going to destroy that in 6 weeks. Olivia studied the photos, her father's face aging from image to image, the vines growing fuller, the legacy building year by year, and she felt something settle inside her chest, a sense of rightness, of completion. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we rebuild. Again." Alec pulled her close. "We finish the renovations, expand distribution like we planned, create those premium reserve wines. We turn this place into something that makes your father proud and your enemies sick with jealousy." "Just business partners rebuilding a vineyard? Is that what you want?" His arms tightened around her. "Because I'm going to be honest with you, Olivia, I haven't thought of this as just business for a long time. Maybe not since that first kiss. Maybe not since I read your articles and realized you saw wine the same way I do, as art and science and history all bottled together." Olivia's heart was racing. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I want this. Us. Not as a fake relationship to make your ex jealous or a business arrangement that happens to include chemistry. I want the real thing, messy and complicated and absolutely terrifying." He cupped her face in his hands. "I want to wake up in that cottage with you. I want to argue about fermentation techniques and distribution deals. I want to build something with you that's bigger than either of us alone." "You're talking about a real relationship, with someone you met at her lowest point who just got arrested, whose family is a disaster, who comes with enough baggage to fill a warehouse." "I'm talking about a partnership with someone brilliant and brave and stubborn enough to take on the FBI and win. Someone who kisses like a storm and fights like a warrior. Someone I'm already halfway in love with despite every logical reason not to be." Olivia's breath caught. "Halfway? I'm a cautious man. I like to ease into these things." His smile was crooked. "But I'm getting there fast." She kissed him then, there in her father's tasting room, surrounded by photos of harvests past and vines that would outlive them both. She kissed him like she was sealing a promise, making a choice, committing to the terrifying, beautiful uncertainty of building something new. When they finally broke apart, Alec was smiling like she'd given him something priceless. "So that's a yes?" he asked. "That's a yes to trying, to seeing where this goes, to being honest about what we want instead of pretending it's all strategy and business." Olivia took his hand. "But Alec, if you ever lie to me, if you ever make me doubt your loyalty the way Nathan did, I will destroy you with the same methodical precision I used to plan harvests. Understood?" "Completely. And same goes for you. We're partners in every sense now, equal stakes, equal honesty, equal consequences." He raised her hand to his lips. "No more secrets, no more half-truths, just us, building something worth protecting." A car pulled up outside. Sarah's distinctive yellow Volkswagen. She burst into the tasting room looking frazzled and fierce. "I've been calling for hours. The news said you were released, but then you disappeared, and I thought maybe Morrison had grabbed you, or—" She stopped, taking in their linked hands and guilty expressions. Oh, you're having a moment. I can come back." "Stay." Olivia pulled away from Alec reluctantly. "I need to talk to you anyway, about everything." Sarah's eyes were knowing. "So you're really doing this? Alec Castellano, reformed wine smuggler and your former fake boyfriend, is now your actual boyfriend. When you put it like that, it sounds insane." "It is insane, but honestly," Sarah grinned, "after everything you've been through, you deserve some insanity. Just make sure it's the good kind." They spent the rest of the afternoon in the vineyard, the three of them drinking wine from Alec's experimental batch and making plans for the future. Real plans this time, built on honesty instead of revenge, on partnership instead of desperation. 2 weeks later, Nathan and Agent Morrison were arrested on federal conspiracy charges. The news coverage was brutal. Former investment banker and corrupt FBI agent faced decades in prison for elaborate fraud scheme. Jessica cooperated with prosecutors and received a reduced sentence: probation, community service, and permanent probation from any role in wine industry businesses. Olivia didn't attend Nathan's trial. She was too busy working, rebuilding, creating the life she'd always wanted instead of the one other people expected. The vineyard's first reserve vintage under her and Alec's partnership sold out within hours of release. Wine critics called it a revelation and proof that sometimes destruction creates space for greatness. 6 months after the arrest, Olivia stood in the completed tasting room and looked at the new addition to her father's photo wall, an image of her and Alec standing among the vines at sunset, both of them laughing, both of them covered in dirt from working harvest, both of them exactly where they belonged. "Your father would have approved," Alec said, coming up behind her and wrapping his arms around her waist. "Of the vineyard, the wines, the expansion, all of it. Would he have approved of you? Probably not at first, but I would have won him over eventually with my charm and exceptional palate." "Your exceptional arrogance, you mean?" "That too." He kissed her neck. "Come on, we have a celebration to get to." The celebration was the vineyard's official reopening party, a smaller, more intimate affair than the Metropolitan Gala. Only people who actually mattered, Sarah and Marcus, Alec's team, the vineyard workers who'd stayed loyal through everything, a few trusted industry contacts, and surprisingly, Jessica. Olivia's sister stood awkwardly near the entrance, clearly uncertain if she was welcome. She'd completed her community service and was working as a marketing consultant, rebuilding her own life from the ruins she'd helped create. "I wasn't sure you'd come," Olivia said, approaching her. "I wasn't sure I should, but I wanted to see it, what you built from the ashes." Jessica gestured at the transformed vineyard. "It's beautiful, Liv. Dad would be so proud." "Would he? I partnered with someone he probably would have called a criminal. I almost lost everything because I chose revenge over reason." "But you didn't lose it. You fought back. You won." Jessica's smile was sad. "That's the thing about you. You always win, even when it looks like you're losing. I used to hate you for it. Now I'm just trying to learn from it." They stood in awkward silence for a moment, years of resentment and betrayal sitting heavy between them. "I'm not ready to forgive you," Olivia said finally. "Maybe not for a long time, but I'm willing to try to be civil, to see if we can find some kind of relationship that isn't built on competition and hurt." "That's more than I deserve." Jessica's eyes were bright with unshed tears. "Thank you. For the chance. For not completely giving up on me. We're family. For better or worse." Olivia touched her sister's arm briefly. "But Jessica, if you ever betray me again, there won't be a third chance. Understood?" "Understood." Jessica glanced past her to where Alec was watching them with careful neutrality. "He really loves you, you know. I can see it from here. The way he looks at you, that's real." "I know." "Good. Hold on to that. Don't let doubt or fear make you push away something genuine." Jessica's smile turned wistful. "Learn from my mistakes. Love is rare enough without sabotaging it when you find it." She left soon after, and Olivia felt something shift inside her chest. Not forgiveness exactly, but the possibility of it. The understanding that people could be broken and still find ways to heal. The party continued into the evening, the vineyard transformed by string lights and laughter. Olivia moved through the crowd accepting congratulations, discussing expansion plans, tasting the wines she'd created with Alec over the past months. Each bottle told a story of struggle and survival, of partnership forged in crisis, of beauty emerging from destruction. When the last guests finally left and the caterers finished cleaning up, Olivia found Alec sitting alone among the vines, a bottle of wine and 2 glasses beside him. "Hiding?" she asked, settling beside him. "Savoring. There's a difference." He poured wine into both glasses. "This is the 2015 Barolo, the one from my cottage. It's finally ready." Olivia tasted it, and the complexity made her eyes close. All the rough edges had smoothed out, the potential she'd tasted months ago fully realized. It was extraordinary. "My grandfather would have been proud of this," Alec said quietly. "Would have said it proved that loss isn't permanent, that you can rebuild what was destroyed and make it even better." "Is that what we did? Rebuilt something better?" "Look around." Alec gestured at the vineyard stretching into the darkness. 6 months ago, this place was failing. You were engaged to the wrong man. I was 3 steps ahead of a federal investigation. Now? The vineyard's thriving, the wines are exceptional, and I'm sitting here with someone I'm completely in love with, who somehow loves me back despite all the reasons she shouldn't. Olivia's heart stuttered. Completely in love? I thought you were only halfway there. I was being cautious, but then you fought the FBI and won. Then you gave your sister a second chance when she didn't deserve it. Then you created this, he held up his glass, which is damn near perfect. How could I not fall completely in love with you? I love you too. The words came easily, naturally, like they'd been waiting months to be spoken. Even though you're morally flexible and occasionally criminal and way too confident for your own good, especially because of those things, I suspect. Maybe. She leaned against him, feeling his warmth, his solidity, the steady rhythm of his breathing. What happens now, after tonight? Now we keep building. We expand into European markets like we planned. We create that premium reserve line. We make Brooks Family Vineyard into something legendary. Alec kissed the top of her head. And we do it together. Equal partners in everything that matters. Everything? Everything. He pulled back to look at her face. Business, life, future. I'm all in, Olivia. Have been since that first kiss, probably. You just took a while to catch up. Arrogant and confident. Terrible combination. You love it. I really do. She kissed him, tasting wine and promise and the future they were building together. They sat among the vines until stars filled the sky and the night air turned cool. And Olivia felt something she hadn't felt in years. Contentment. Not the fragile kind that depended on everything going right, but the solid kind built on surviving everything going wrong and coming out stronger. Her father had always said that the best wines came from vines that struggled, that easy growing seasons produced bland, forgettable vintages, while hardship created complexity and depth. Olivia finally understood what he meant. She'd been broken and rebuilt, betrayed and redeemed, lost and found. And every struggle, every setback, every moment of doubt had created someone stronger, braver, more capable than the woman who'd stood at the Metropolitan Gala 6 months ago watching her life implode. That woman would have been terrified of what came next. This woman, the one sitting under stars with a man who challenged and protected her in equal measure, with a vineyard that finally felt like home, with a future built on honesty instead of illusion. This woman was ready for anything. I was thinking, Alex said, breaking the comfortable silence. What if we got married here, in the vineyard? Nothing fancy, just the people who matter most. Olivia's breath caught. Is that a proposal? That's a question about whether you'd be interested if it were a proposal. I'm testing the waters. Very cautious of you. I'm a cautious man, when it matters. His hand found hers in the darkness. But I'm also certain about what I want. And I want forever with you, Olivia Brooks. Want to argue about vineyard management and wake up tangled together and build something that outlasts us both. That's the worst proposal I've ever heard. Lucky for me, it wasn't an actual proposal, just a theoretical discussion. Good, because when you do actually propose, I expect something more romantic than let's argue and build things. Noted. But Alec was smiling, and Olivia knew he'd already started planning something elaborate and perfect and completely unexpected. They walked back to the cottage hand in hand, the vineyard quiet around them, the future stretching ahead like rows of vines waiting for next season's harvest. And Olivia felt something settle deep in her bones, the certainty that she was exactly where she was meant to be, with the right partner, in the right place, building the right life. Not the one she'd planned, not the one anyone expected, but the one she'd fought for brick by brick, choice by choice, kiss by kiss. The best revenge, her father had always said, was a wine so good it made your enemies weep. But Olivia had learned something better. The best revenge was living so well that enemies became irrelevant. Building something so beautiful that the past couldn't touch it. Finding love so real that betrayal became just a memory instead of a wound. She'd started at the Metropolitan Gala with her heart breaking and her world ending. She'd made desperate choices, taken dangerous risks, trusted the wrong people, and then the right one. And she'd ended here, in a vineyard reborn, with a partner who saw her clearly and loved her anyway, with scars that had become strengths and losses that had become lessons. Nathan had wanted her to be a victim. Jessica had wanted her to fail. Agent Morrison had wanted to destroy her. Instead, Olivia had become the author of her own story, the architect of her own redemption, the creator of something rare and precious and entirely her own. As she fell asleep that night in Alex's arms, the taste of wine still on her lips and the smell of earth in the air, Olivia Brooks smiled. Because sometimes the best stories begin with everything falling apart, and sometimes the greatest victories come from refusing to stay broken. Sometimes a single kiss at a charity gala changes everything. And sometimes if you're brave enough and stubborn enough and lucky enough, it changes everything for the better. The vineyard would thrive. The wines would be legendary, and Olivia would spend the rest of her life proving that the girl who lost everything at the Metropolitan Gala had actually found herself instead. Found her strength, found her partner, found her home, found exactly what she'd been searching for all along, even when she hadn't known she was searching. Love, purpose, belonging, and a future built on honesty, passion, and grapes that turned into something extraordinary when given the right care, the right time, and the right touch. Just like her.